Oh,
All right, so officially welcome Iona and Sally. So I'm just going to share my screen. We'll go have a look at today's teaching. Make that a bit bigger. So Sally, if you can kick it off with the quote, kindly, and then just read the first paragraph.
how do you let go of attachment to things? Don't even try, it's impossible. Attachment to things drops away by itself when you no longer seek to find yourself in them. In today's quote, Eckhart Tolle hits the ego's nail on the head because the ego is always trying to find and confirm its identity in the world and uses all the things it's made up to populate the world for this purpose. The only way out of this self-perpetuating thought system is to accept that you will never find yourself in any of the images the ego has projected onto the four-dimensional screen of time-space that we call this universe and world.
Okay. Any thoughts on that?
No, I was lying in bed thinking about it this morning, and yeah, it's just comforting to come back to that place that it's all just playing out like a film in front of you. It's a nice feeling.
Hmm. These are just projections, images. You are the character in the movie, but the movie it takes most people in because you're actually it's a virtual reality show. You're in the movie. You have a character, you have a body, you have an identity, and you're one of the images on the screen. Apparently, that's what the ego is telling you. The body's real, your identity is real, and so you got to zoom out of that and be able to look at it from a higher perspective and see, okay, I'm just a character. This is just a character playing out its role in the dream. I'm not Sally. I'm not Iona. That's just a character. There's a light beyond it. So to use an analogy, a movie analogy, if you zoom out of the screen and you're now the observer, you start to observe all the characters, including yours. You go, okay, well that's interesting. That character's doing that. That one's thinking that and doing that, and you start to be able to see it objectively. And then by doing that, you are actually turning around because the images are being projected from the projector mechanism, which is unseen. But as you do this, you start to be able to turn around and follow the light because it's a stream of light from which it's being projected. And you go all the way back to the projection mechanism, which is the ego. The ego is the belief in separation that's fragmented all of these images. That's behind all these images that are projected out. So that's like the filter. That's the film. The ego is the film over the light. You see. So if you think of how it works in movie terms, you got the film. I don't. It doesn't work that way anymore because they do it digitally, but it used to. Yeah, you got the film that you got the light source, and then the film is going frame by frame in front of the light. And so that film is the ego. See, that film is the belief in separation that now has the script. The script is the film that is the script of separation. So the light then goes through the film and then it gets projected out and fragmented into all these images, which we then see as seemingly real. So what we're trying to do with this practice is track back to the film, look at the script and go, okay, that is a script based on a single idea. The script writer was the ego, was the belief in separation. That's now written the entire script of separation, invented all of this, the bodies, the seemingly separate entities, identities, all the drama that goes on. It's invented all of this to cover over the light. But the light is still there because without the light, there would be nothing to shine through and there could be no projection, you see? The light source behind it is what we're trying to get to, beyond the film, beyond the script. And as you let go of your attachment to the images, what you're doing psychologically is tracking back, following the light back beyond the film, seeing beyond the script, and going, what's beyond that? Well, that is the face of Christ, as he calls it, or the light. Right? It's an opening into the eternal light that is beyond the script, that is beyond separation, because that's what's behind it. But it's to get through that dense covering, that veil of illusion. And you do that by looking at the projections and seeing that these are just projections and not attaching to it. Because if you attach to them and you give them meaning and purpose and reality, then you're making the script real, aren't you? And you're making the idea of separation that is behind the script real. So Yeshua's gone, okay, this is how you undo it. You look at the projections of the belief and you deny them. And you say, this is not true. And that will undo your belief in separation, that is the script writer. And so then the entire script will ultimately collapse. Your mind will go beyond it into the light where there is no script, there's no separation, there's just pure formless awareness, perfect oneness. And it happens by simply letting go of your mind's identification with and attachment to the images that you think you see in this world. So this is where the rubber meets the road. Your attachment to things, which is why most spiritual practices, certainly the Eastern ones, focus on, are you attached to the world? Are you attached to people and places and things and events in this world? Because that is how the ego gets you. Your mind's attachment to those represents your belief in separation, which then ties you into the script. Then you're on the you're identifying with the character in the script. You're on the timeline. Where's this timeline? You're on the timeline again. So the ego wants you to identify with this, the character in the dream, what's happening in the script, the red timeline from birth to death, and all the events seemingly happening on it. That's part of the script. That's the script of separation. If you identify with this, then you have psychological and emotional attachment to the character and to the dream, don't you? And turning it around, letting go, turns it around and gets you to look at the light beyond the script, beyond the ego script, which is this: God, love, eternity, pure formless awareness, knowledge, whatever you want to call it. Go in there, and then the genius of this is, we'll come back into the script. You're still looking at that. You're looking at the dream, but you look at it differently. So now your perception of the dream has changed. And so the character in the dream is gonna think and speak and act differently because it's gone to the light. And so now you change the script. And that's how miracles work. You're rewriting the script. Now that script is not being directed by the ego. The script's being directed by the Holy Spirit. And the purpose of the script is to awaken you, to ultimately undo all of your psychological and emotional attachment, so that when you finally lay your body aside, you then leave the dream, you leave it permanently. You don't need to come back into another image. As he says, images cannot see. You can't be an image, a body, and really see truly. Okay, so does it make sense? Any questions?
That's good.
Remember, it's a 4-dimensional screen of time, space. 4 dimensions. 3 dimensions of space, and time is the other dimension, because it needs time, frame by frame, to play out in some kind of order, doesn't it? So the linear time, the sequential time, is part of the construct. But that's not true. That's part of the ego's belief, that it has to play out frame by frame. If you start to do this and you're miracle-minded, you start to be able to collapse time, and you start to be able to go beyond that sequential linear framework and realize that it's actually all happening simultaneously. Because the script, although it's feeding through the light one frame by frame, the script is all there, isn't it? So why can't you go, I can go beyond what the current frame is that's being projected. Why can't I go and see, the past or the future? Because the script's already there. It just hasn't happened yet. It hasn't gone over the light and been projected out. And so that's like Ione, we talked about psychic abilities. That's what starts to happen. You're able to maybe go into the script and go, okay, I'm actually seeing into that script that hasn't played out on the level of form yet, but it's loaded in there. It's like it's ready to come. The entire movie's already been made. You watch a movie, it's already there. It's got to play out
Okay.
frame by frame.
Mm-hmm.
But the
Yeah.
ending's already there. So the script is written, Yeshua says. That's what he means. It's already there. And if you are choosing the Holy Spirit, that script is going to be orchestrated and directed by the Holy Spirit now, not the ego. So it's going to use the construct of separation. It's still playing out in the dream, but the Holy Spirit's now behind these events. It's taken over from the ego. It's no longer the belief in separation that's directing it. And that's the enlightened life. Okay, so happy with number 1. Number 2, I don't know if you read it's quite short, so number 2 and 3, I think.
This acceptance means that you will no longer seek to find your identity in anything or anyone in this world. Forgiveness, as Jesus teaches it in A Course in Miracles, is nothing more than a refusal to look for yourself in and thereby give reality to the images being projected onto the screen. But neither is it less. To free yourself from the mental and emotional prison the ego has made for you, you need first to accept that you will never find yourself in any of the images that you call the things, people, and living creatures of this world.
Okay. Any thoughts on that?
Look beyond the images being projected onto the screen. It's a pointless exercise to try to seek for yourself in anything or anyone in this world.
Yeah.
It's a prison, it's an illusion, and our job is to accept that fact.
Yeah, you remember in the Matrix, there's a great line. So they're on their way to see the Oracle in the car, and Neo's looking out the window, going, like, "Oh, I used to eat there. Great noodles."
Yeah.
He said, "But none of it really happened. I realized that none of this really happened. What does that mean?" And Trinity says, it means that the Matrix cannot tell you who you are. So none of those images, the dream cannot tell you who you are. You can only find yourself outside of the dream.
Right.
But then you can come back into the dream like Neo did and go, I can just see it all differently.
Mm.
So it still seems to be there, but I don't have the same perception of it as transformed.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's not trying to find himself in the dream, in the images. Because you never will. Your eternal nature is you've connected with that, established that in your mind, and now that becomes the interpreter of the dream. You see everything from that higher self, and that's what we're doing with the Course in Miracles. So it's the ego's world translated by the Holy Spirit into the happy dream. Into a dream where, yeah, okay, none of these images are true or real, but they're going to play out for a while. And they're not just going to stop, but I'm not attached to them. None of them really matter. So whether it's a spare room, mess in your spare room, or whatever the situation is that's triggering you, like none of it really matters because it's just an image. It's just a projection into an illusion. Mm-hmm. So I'm not making this real in my mind anymore. And I'm not seeking for myself in the dream.
Yeah.
So that's the key thing. When you're attached to the dream world, you go, that needs to happen so that I can be happy. And now you're seeking an identity and satisfaction through the images in the dream. And that's never going to work.
Yeah.
Because then the ego's got you. So the only way out of that is to let it go. Say, well, no. None of the projections really matter. Whatever's happening in the projection, I am that I am. This great I am presence remains. Whatever's happening in the dream, I'm not affected by it.
Yeah, I felt excited by that this morning. It was great.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the idea of letting it all go.
Yeah, or feeling it letting go. Yeah, just very powerful today.
It's the ultimate adventure, isn't it? So, okay, so what lies beyond my attachments to this world? You're opening your mind to a transcendent reality that you've denied. That is, you've had, we have glimpses of it, and it's so, I mean, mind-blowingly amazing.
Yeah.
That day on the beach, you think of that. That was just a little glimpse. Imagine being in the fullness of that for all eternity. I mean, you just can't even. Your mind, the ego mind's going to struggle to get its head around that. But there is a transcendent, magnificent experience that awaits you if you do this, and that's what he's training us to do, to achieve that state. Okay, so Sally, once you realize
the futility of trying to do this, it becomes easier to let go of any attachment to the reality of any of the images you see, hear, touch, and perceive in this so-called reality. After all, if something's clearly never going to work, the utter stupidity and sheer insanity of pursuing it as if it will work will dawn on you, and you'll naturally let go of pursuing it. Shall I carry on?
Yeah, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, just let go of the reality sounds so easy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it isn't easy, because it's where the rubber meets the road of the thought, the ego, and of the Holy Spirit. So the reason why we struggle with it, you think, well, why can't I let go of a spare room, for instance? But the reason you struggle with it is because you're letting go of a self-concept that's attached to it. And so that's why letting go is hard, because it feels like we are losing an identity that we value. But by letting go of our attachment to the images, we are systematically undoing that identity. It can't maintain if there's no attachment to the images. It's reliant on our mind's mental, emotional attachment. So, Yeshua's figured this out, and he's gone, well, this is how you're going to do this. Just let go of your attachment, and you're going to let go of the self-concept that is driving the entire program.
Yeah, that's why it's so hard, isn't it? It feels like it's a real battle going on within.
Yeah, because you're letting go of the false self-concept that you have thought for so many years and lifetimes, perhaps, was real, that this is who you are. And now this is all coming into question. Whenever you let go of anything, it brings that whole thought system into question and ultimately lets it go. So that self-concept cannot sustain if you truly let go of the reality you've given any of these images. But Yeshua's just saying, look, this is never going to work. You're so stubborn. You keep doing this over and over and over again, believing that your false self-concept somehow knows what it's doing, and this can actually manage your life, and this can bring you some kind of happiness and peace and ultimate enlightenment. He says, it's not going to work. I'm telling you. Just listen to me. So don't be stubborn and just apply this letting go. That's all you have to do. I mean, he's giving us one thing to do. Just let go in every instance. So it's not a difficult course. It's not a complicated course, is it? So this course is very simple. He's simply asking us to do one thing. But to do that is not easy, because it's the self-concept that's being undone when you do it. Okay? Happy with that?
Yep.
Read the next one. Iona?
This understanding leads to letting go of your attachments, and the more you let them go and experience the inner peace and freedom this inevitably brings, the more you'll understand that this is the only way to lead a happy, peaceful, and liberated life. This is still a big ask, you may be thinking, but it's really not, because you need only apply the simple logic of the Holy Spirit to everything you perceive in this world. The images you perceive as external reality are either all real or all unreal, and you will either find yourself or lose yourself in them. There is no in-between state.
Okay.
Yeah, so saying decide what you're going to attach to.
It's either real or it's unreal. There's no like, oh, well, this is half real.
Yeah.
You can't fudge it. These images are either reality. If they're reality, then all of it's real. Then the ego is real, this world's real, you're doomed to suffer and die, and that's reality.
Yeah.
See, I mean, if you accept any of this as real, then it's all got to be real. The body, and or you say no, none of it's real, and therefore there's another reality that's underneath this, that's been covered over by this. And there's no fudging that. You can't make some of it real and go, oh well, I can kind of have, I can have the best of both worlds. Ultimately, you've got to choose. The happy dream is when the spirit's directing you. You're still living in this world for a while, and it can be quite happy, but you still don't mistake the images for reality. Like, I understand my happiness is really coming not from the images. My happiness is coming from within me.
Yeah.
And now I'm experiencing that as happiness in this world, but it's not reliant on any of the images. The happiness is internal. It's inside out.
I think that's the excitement that I'm feeling, that it doesn't really matter where I am now.
Yeah.
It's an inside job, and I'm feeling, yeah.
So I don't need circumstances of time and space to look a certain way for me to be happy.
Yeah.
Because that's the game the ego's playing, and it's never going to work. You just, whatever I'm doing, wherever I am, there I am, and I still am. That I am presence is always there. It's God goes with me wherever I go. It's my fundamental awareness. So if whatever I'm experiencing, I'm rooted in that awareness. I'm happy, whatever I'm experiencing. The situation's challenging. I remember the presence. That presence keeps me anchored in a peaceful, flowing state. If it's a nice experience, I'm in nature like yesterday, well, great too. Great. I'm here and I'm happy, and I'm seeing it in everything. It's in the birds, it's in the trees, it's in the people I'm walking with. It's everywhere, and it's never not there. And that's the happy dream. That's what he's training our minds to stay rooted in, to stay anchored in. But it does require that you've got to let go of a lot of these false images that you've attached to. Okay, Sally, next one. If you accept the truth.
If you accept the truth that all the images you perceive in this world, people, places, events, circumstances, and anything else that seems to be outside your mind are unreal, when you are tempted to make them real by reacting to them emotionally, and hence judging them as real with the power to affect you, this is the true forgiveness that sets you free, because you will no longer believe in any of the images, and so they will have no power to cause you any suffering or disturb your peace in any way. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All the images are unreal. That's really all forgiveness, true forgiveness, is asking you to do. All these images are unreal. And I bring it to the truth of that. Because if they are unreal, then there's something else that's real beyond them. And I look on all of them as unreal. They have no power to cause you any suffering or disturb your peace in any way. If there's an exception, like the spare room situation you mentioned, then great. That's showing you where you still haven't fully accepted this. So there's more letting go to do. So any other way of perceiving the images of this world, if you believe they're real in any way, shape, or form, will inevitably lead you to remaining in these chains, the chains of your own false beliefs. It would have you believe the images on the screen are real, and that the separate self who perceives them, because that's really the crux of the matter, isn't it? The separate self that perceives them, the ego, is also real, because the images are real, the perceiver is real.
Mm-hmm.
And this then explains, if you go to quantum mechanics, it explains why there's no reality in the absence of observation. That's the fundamental Copenhagen interpretation, anyway, of quantum mechanics, because the perceiver, the false self, has invented the entire world. What blew the quantum physicist's mind was, whoa, this is going out of some kind of external reality. This is going into the mind and looking at the perceiver. We're going beyond science here. Now we're into the domain of consciousness and philosophy. And so who's the perceiver then? So it all came back then. All the science has led us to, and it's actually about the perceiver. the identity of the perceiver that's actually in question here. And that's why they couldn't handle it. It's like, well, maybe I'm not real. Maybe the perceiver that's perceiving this illusion is not real. And that becomes directly threatening to your ego, whether you're a scientist or whoever. It's like, oh, I thought I was real, but actually this is telling me that the perceiver that's perceiving all of this is not real. Which is why even, bright people, they still want to try and find the answer within that construct of quantum mechanics. Oh, the answer's there. No, the answer's not there. That path will point you to the answer, but the answer's beyond that. Because quantum is still within the construct of the illusion. It's in the domain of a false self-concept projecting out a cosmos that seems to be there, but is not. That's what quantum is showing us. So it takes you to the truth, but then you have to let go of the model that took you there. So quantum's got to go too. In truth, it doesn't really exist. The illusion doesn't exist. Quantum mechanics is a path to realization of the truth, like everything is in this world. But in the end, you've got to let it go because it's not the ultimate truth. Okay, and that brings us to that. Sally, I mentioned listening to this. Actually, there's a nice little steps here. So let's go through this. This could be quite useful to help you to feel unconditional love towards anyone with whom you're interacting. So you might go, well, how can I apply this process in an everyday situation? Well, it happens all the time. So you might be at a bank, you might be the cashier in a supermarket or a waiter at a restaurant. And instead of being preoccupied with getting your problem sorted out or putting your shopping in bags or paying your bill or all the transactional stuff we do, and allowing any negative emotions like frustration and irritation to come in, you could just pause for a few moments. You could inhale deeply. You could connect with this empty, open, spacious awareness in yourself, which is the essence of love. Then as you exhale, you extend this feeling outwards to the person as you look at them, and then perhaps you speak to them, recognizing that deep inside of them, there resides the same unconditionally loving presence as you're experiencing within you in that moment. So that might take you a few seconds to do, but it changes fundamentally the nature of that interaction, doesn't it? So there, I put it into a little acronym: pause, then inhale, connect with the feeling of love just for a few moments. So there's kind of a spacious awareness. And you exhale, have a sense as you exhale of extending the love to that person, and recognize in that moment that the same loving presence is in the other person. And there you have a formula for taking this very practically into your daily life. Because if you can do that, you could do that in about 5 seconds. If you remember to do it in any interaction, it brings in this unconditionally loving presence into that interaction. And that's unconditional love. So do you want to read the next one, Sally?
What, feeling only this loving feeling?
Yeah.
Feeling only this loving feeling or presence is unconditional love, which is enhanced when you also recognize it in another person. Therefore, unconditional love cannot be achieved through a perception of a subjective you loving another objective entity, whether that seems to be a person, living creature, or inanimate object that's separate from you, because then there's something other than that perfect love or oneness being perceived.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I do this when I go out for dog walks. I imagine, I feel the love and I spread it out to the other people that are walking towards me, and it just makes harmony and connection and stops any aggro between the dogs and all that sort of thing. So yeah.
So you're already doing it. And so the love is just the feeling of I'm not really separate from you. That's what true love is, unconditional love. If I love you, I separate self, love you separate self, that's special love. That's not love. Because separation is still at the foundation of that perception. But I am you. I am you. Namaste. I see you as I am. That's the unconditional love. That's the divine love we're talking about. And there's a little pick here. You can remember the acronym just to remind you. Yeah, in any situation, I can actually do this. Pause, inhale, connect with the feeling of love. Exhale, extend the feeling of love. And you can do that in a few seconds. Doesn't need to take just a little bit of awareness to do it. Okay, and then last no, there's 2 more to read. So Iona, do you want to read? Can you read, or busy having a little lie down there?
In fact, if you see people or things as being really separate people or things external to you, you've lost the meaning of unconditional love and will only be able to experience life on the mundane, practical, and transactional level that cannot fulfill your soul's yearning for divine or unconditional love. I've had that so much in my life, just feeling desperately mundane. Yeah.
It's all kind of mundane, practical, transactional. It's
Yeah.
like, what's the point? You can't. Part of you's like, well, what's the point of all of this? I'm just like doing all this stuff that I've got to do, and there's no joy in it. There's no meaning. It can all seem to be a bit purposeless and meaningless, because it is ultimately, on its in and of itself, it is. What brings life into an inspired domain is you change your mindset and you see the love that's there in every interaction. So every encounter with another human being is an opportunity for a holy encounter, and to feel the unconditional love that is always there.
I was thinking about that yesterday when I went into the co-op, and I thought, right, I'm going to make this, a holy encounter.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman behind the desk told me how much I'd spent, and I looked in my wallet, and immediately another dream came back to me that I just had about my debit cards being in splinters, and I had no way of spending any money. And I looked at them and went, oh, they are whole. And she looked at me, and I told her about this dream, and we had this conversation about dreams.
Yeah,
it was great.
At the checkout, yeah. So there you go. Yeah. So there's the holy encounter.
Yeah. That was an interesting one about having no money, and then as another example of the way things really work to our best advantage, the person who was meant to show up for the first healing session yesterday never came.
Huh?
And I phoned her and I texted her, and there was no answer. But what it did enable was me and Kenneth to really, really talk, and to get things really clear that changed the whole of the rest of the day. Work together in a much better flowing way, and some amazing things happened, and encounters took place, and I really want to thank that woman for not showing up. But of course, it was designed by the upstairs, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So often that's how it goes. You think it's not happening as it should, but actually it is happening as it should.
Yeah. By 11:15, I'd given it up and I thought, okay, this is meant to happen. Show us what this time is for now.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's then the letting go. Okay, I'm open to. That's not my way. Because whenever we judge a situation, we go, okay, so it should happen this way.
Yeah.
A time-space idea.
Yeah.
We're actually denying the spirit that's actually trying to shine through and say, no, actually, I'm trying to help you here. There's another way here. Yeah. Just go with this.
I imagine quite a lot of time the spirit will going, oh my, okay.
Oh God, there we go. She's not seeing it. I'm giving you, like, I'm sending you all this, like, and you're not getting it.
Like, you're just not. She's not getting it again,
Yeah. But it's very patient. It's a patient, loving presence. It's okay. Well, we'll try again.
Yeah.
We'll try again. We'll give another lesson, and hopefully next time. And the lessons tend to get ramped up a bit though if you don't listen.
Well, that woman not showing opened the door literally to this Japanese monk who was visiting the same center, the Haven at Stonehaven.
Okay.
And Kenneth and he had this wonderful interaction. It was really beautiful. So
Okay. So this was in Aberdeen, yeah?
this was in Aberdeen, the place that I hope you're going to be.
Okay. Yeah, well, I think book it by all means, eh?
Good. Okay, will do.
Lucy said she was okay. She hasn't come back, but
Okay,
she's
good.
obviously busy. But we did discuss it. She said, "Yeah, that's okay."
Fine.
Yeah,
Well,
great. And if there's money, do we need to pay up front, or is it only once we do?
I'll pay £15. It's okay.
Okay, just keep a record of all your expenses because we'll sort it out.
Sure.
Part of the retreat accounting. Okay, so whenever you meet, so there's one more, and then we go into the lesson.
So whenever you meet, communicate with, or even think of anyone today, remember that the Pikir, Pissir, Pikir,
So this pause, inhale, connect, exhale, extend the feeling of love, and recognize.
yes.
There's a little acronym to help you remember it. Pick here is the path.
Pikir is the path to experiencing unconditional love in your interaction with them and lifting your daily experience of life into the extraordinary, ordinary domain of the miraculous. Yeah. That's how I felt with the woman at the checkout and the dream thing. Yeah, nice.
And why couldn't we have that experience all the time? Like every encounter could be a holy encounter. We're certainly open to that. Not everyone in the world is not always open to it, but it doesn't matter, because even if they're not, even if they're grumpy or unfriendly, that's still a holy encounter if you see it right. Because then that's okay. Well, that's just, I've got to let that go. I'm not going to let that upset me.
No.
So that's the holy encounter then for you. That's your lesson. But if you really are in this energy, you find people respond.
Yeah.
They really do, and you'll tend to. It's like an energy you carry. You'll tend to then attract these kinds of people into your field. They'll just like somehow know, okay, there's someone who's a little bit more awake, and then you invite the connection just by your energy that you carry with you, and then these miraculous synchronicities Carl Jung talked about. So that's one of the symptoms of enlightenment, is miraculous synchronicities start happening more and more, because you change your energy, so that then affects the quantum field, and now that gets invited in. It's like think of it like a pinball machine. This is a useful analogy.
That's exactly how I feel at the moment. And the ego is saying, but what about the really important stuff to attend to? Okay, you're standing in the garden, this woman, and this happened again this morning, this woman's telling you about all her birth experiences and how she gave birth in a tree. And that's fantastic. But my ego's going, but what about
you've got to do this, and you've got to do this, and
but it seemed really important to hear her birth stories, which were amazing.
Yeah. So that voice, ideally, what we're trying to do is get rid of that voice. So there's no other voice.
Okay.
The ego's not coming in and going, yes, but no, you can't be fully present here because you've got a painting to do, or you've got another task to do. You're just like, okay, I'm fully present with this person for the time, and then when the time's over, then you move on. There's no lingering if it's meant to move on. These things will come to a natural close. She'll tell her story, and there'll be a way of closing it. Yeah. But if you're anxious about it, going, I'm wasting time, well, you're just not present.
Yeah.
Are you? You're actually in the future then. You're thinking about something else, and that takes you away from the present moment, which is where the joy is, which is where the unconditional love is.
Yeah, it was cool.
So it's just a totally different way of living, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
Let's say you're being reborn in the spirit. This is what it means to be reborn in the spirit. To really do this, to really allow this to transform your perception of every situation. And so your entire life is changing. You're being reborn. That's what it means. It doesn't mean, I'm reborn and Jesus, you saved me, and like some kind of conceptual idea. It's actually in your experience, moment by moment, your experience is transformed. The experience of life is different. And so it is like you're learning to live again. You're being reborn in the spirit at 58 or whatever the age is. Yeah. You're being reborn into another way of living. learning to live again in a different way,
Oh,
which
bring
is
it on.
exciting. I mean, that's exciting. That's like, wow, I'm just starting here.
Yeah.
I'm not at the end of my life. I'm at the beginning of my life. It's like
Yeah.
I'm reborn in the spirit, and the rest of my experience here is going to be totally different from how it was.
Yeah.
My whole life. That's pretty exciting, I'd say. At you know, in midlife to have it's like a new lease of life. Wow,
Definitely.
okay, so the rest of my life is going to be completely different to how the first half was. And that's what this is doing for you. So well done.
Ooh.
That's what I'd say. You know, it's work. You've got to put in the work. It's not always easy, but the benefits are like, wow, you know, you can really just have
Well,
such an extraordinary, ordinary life.
well, that's right. And you were an example this morning who's still meditating at 10 to 1 this morning.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's great. It's like, okay, well, there's no time. If you want to do it, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. You know, whether it's 1:45 in the morning, or most people are like that's extreme, and it's like, well, maybe by you know conventional standards, but we were just going with the flow and going, okay, well, that feels right. We finish the session, we do a meditation, and it doesn't really matter what the time is because there's no time. There's no time. So why are you worried about it? It's just now. That's all. It's now, and that's all it is. And so the mastery, you know, these masters like Ramana and Yeshua and Buddha, they don't live in a time-bound way. It's not time isn't dictating to them. They're just like present. And like, okay, well, whatever needs to happen now will happen. It doesn't matter what the clock time is. It could be 2 o'clock in the morning or, you know, a more normal time. It doesn't matter. That's why Ramana would see his people. He'd see them at any point. They could come at 2 a.m. and he'd see them because, like, well, it doesn't matter. I'm not bound by, you know, this normal concept of time. Okay, so that brings us to today's lesson, which is quite connected to our discussion. So let's read it. There isn't actually that much to translate in this one, is there really? Not really. I think we might get away with very little translation of this one.
Okay.
So if you read the main idea and number 1.
Is that Sally or me?
I go.
Yeah.
Anyone? Yeah.
The world I see holds nothing I want. The world you see holds nothing that you need to offer you, nothing that you can use in any way, nor anything at all that serves to give you joy. Believe this thought, and you are saved from years of misery, from countless disappointments, and from hopes that turn to bitter ashes of despair. No one but must accept this thought as true. If he could leave the world behind and soar beyond its petty scope and little ways.
Okay, any thoughts on that?
Just picturing my spare room and just soaring away from the idea of it. Yeah, it's about leaving the world behind, isn't it? It's like seeing it from another standpoint altogether. Yeah.
Nothing that you can use in any way. It's being, I mean, there's no ambiguity here. It's being so clear. The world you see holds nothing that you need to offer you. Nothing that you can use in any way. Nothing at all that serves to give you joy. Whoa, okay. Like, that's quite extreme. Most people go, really? So all the good stuff that you think it offers you, that falls into the category. You know, special relationships, family, friends. Maybe you like to do various activities in this world. It all falls into this construct. Okay, it really is offering me nothing. I need to see that. Now, a lot of people get very scared and like, oh, well, if I've got to let all this go, what's left? And I feel like all this has been taken away. It's a sacrifice. But you're not actually letting go of anything real because none of it was real. It's part of a dream world. You're just stopping the dream. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to participate in these things.
Yeah.
See, you're still going to have your special relationships. Are not going to just disappear, but they transformed in your perception. You're still with that person, but now you don't value it in the same way as you did before. You go, I need this person in my life, otherwise I'm unhappy. I need this person to be this way or do this. But no, like I don't have any expectation anymore. It's like, okay, so this person's in my life. I see them as I am, and that's an unconditional love is flowing between us, and that's a happy dream. So the letting go is necessary to free your mind to be able to live in the happy dream and free yourself from all of this misery, countless disappointments, from hopes that turn to bitter ashes of despair. And that all comes from expectation. Years of misery, countless disappointments, hopes that turn to bitter ashes of despair. Okay, so he's kind of laying it on quite thick, but he's telling us this is what your expectations, your attachments in this world do. This is what they cause you. So do you want that? Do you want years of misery, countless disappointments, and hopes that turn to bitter ashes of despair? Or do you want to be happy? Do you prefer to be right or happy? You can be right and hold on to all of this, or you you can say, no, actually I was wrong, and I choose to be happy instead. Okay, I don't think that really needs any transfer. I mean, we could no one but, we can change that. No one must accept. No one but must everyone must accept. So no one but must accept. Should we do a little translation? Improve it a bit. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just go. Okay, so there we go. We've got that, and let's translate it, shall we, into an alternative. So how would we change this? No one but everyone. No one but must accept. Everyone must accept, I think.
Yeah.
Must accept if he would leave the world behind, soar beyond its petty scope and little ways. World you see holds nothing that you need to offer you. I don't think that's really necessary. Holds nothing that you need. Or the world that you see can offer you nothing. Holds nothing that you need. Nothing that it can offer you.
It makes enough sense, doesn't it?
Huh?
I get enough confused by all these ways,
Yeah.
but that still makes sense to me. So.
Yeah, so leave it, I think. Nothing that you need. Nothing that you can use in any way, or anything that all serves to give you joy. I think it's pretty clear. So we'll just delete that too. Nothing that you need to offer you. I think it's redundant, really. So we'll leave that. Anything else? Hopes that turn to bitter ashes of despair. Take out the comma there. Accept this thought as true. If he, changing would to want, if he wants to leave. Must accept this thought as true if he wants to leave the world behind and soar beyond its petty scope in little ways. It's just, I think, wants is more direct, isn't it? And he would leave. He wants to leave the world. Okay, so it's first one done. Iona, you want to read the next one for us? Kindly. So It's just to number 2.
Each thing you value here is but a chain that binds you to the world, and it will serve no other end but this. For everything must serve the purpose you have given it until you see a different purpose there. The only purpose worthy of your mind this world contains is that you pass it by, without delaying to perceive some hope where there is none. Be you deceived no more. The world you see holds nothing that you want.
Okay.
So,
Any thoughts on that?
well, I'm thinking about the kind of weary feeling that I've experienced so much, where everything's seemed mundane, mechanistic, dutiful.
Yeah.
And that was the purpose that I had given it, but I knew I yearned for something a great deal more.
Yeah.
So he's saying you don't need to be deceived anymore, because you are looking for and seeing a more worthy purpose for this experience, in this experience of living in this world. Yeah. And that's the exciting bit.
Yeah. So translation, should we change a couple of those words? It's not a lot.
Deceived no more is a bit Old English. It's a bit Blackadder.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll change, well, let's start from the top. Each thing you value here is only a chain, or is just a chain. Just a chain, only a chain, but a chain, only
Or everything you value here is a chain that binds you to the world.
you don't need the but. Just leave it off.
You know, in the disappearance of the universe, Parsa is warning against radical reinterpretations of the Course in Miracles. Not a second of, am I involved in the right thing here? Am I changing? Jesus took 7 years to talk to this woman. You know, what are we doing here? But then I thought about the nature of the translation, and I feel okay. I feel comfortable.
Well, it's to get to a deeper meaning of it, isn't it? That's the whole point. It's not to change the meaning. It's to change the form of the words so that they point more directly to the meaning. That's the reason why we're doing the translation. So some of this language is clunky. There's but a chain that binds. It's written in a certain style.
Yes.
Like, well, just change the style. You're not actually changing the meaning.
Style, not the content, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So we do need to, be vigilant of that, because you can start changing meaning, but generally it's to keep the meaning, but improve the form, the way that it's phrased, so that the form of the words reveals the meaning more fully, more easily for people.
More succinctly.
That's the whole point. Yeah, it's just that it's an easier read, and it's more easy to understand in the translation than in the original form.
And it will serve no other end but this. So it is a chain that binds you to the world, and it will serve no other end but this. And it has no other reason but this.
Yeah, it will serve no other purpose.
Yeah, let's keep it minimal.
No other purpose than this.
That's better. For everything must serve the purpose you have given it, unless you see a different purpose there.
Until you see a different purpose there.
Oh, yes. For everything must serve the purpose you have given it, until you see a different purpose there.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only purpose worthy of your mind this world contains is that you pass it by. Is that you let it go, maybe, instead of pass it by? What do you think?
Let it go.
Yeah.
without delaying, to perceive some hope where there is none, without delaying to.
Where there is none, or where there is no hope? You want to say hope again? Or do you just leave
None.
it at none?
No hope is better. But there
Well,
is
it's more like, oh, okay, there is no hope. To perceive some hope where there is no hope, it's like, I think that just kind of hammers home the point of it, doesn't it?
It
There is no hope. For the
be
ego thought
deceived
system.
more. So do not
Yeah.
be
Do not be
deceived.
deceived anymore.
Yeah. The world you see holds nothing that you want.
The world you see, the world you, should we change see to perceive? Or the world you perceive holds nothing that you want. This is not just the visual sense, you know, it's the whole sensory experience.
Yeah.
Sight and touch and taste and feel and hearing all form part of this perceptual error, really, that we've got stuck into. Okay, so happy with that?
Yes.
Any thoughts on that?
Well, it's another lesson in seeing my values, previous values that I'm learning to extricate myself from are useless. Chain that binds. And I have given them all another, I'm giving them all another purpose, and that's really joyful.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we have a little interpretation of this. The world I see holds nothing that I want. The world I perceive holds nothing that I want. I think the perception, the perceive just expands it a bit. Puts it into a slightly more all-inclusive. Okay. So Sally, number 3.
Mute. Right. Escape today the change you place upon your mind when you perceive salvation here. For what you value, you make part of you as you perceive yourself. All things you seek to make your value greater in your sight limit you further, hide your worth from you, and add another bar across the door that leads to true awareness of yourself. Dramatic,
Okay. Any translation needed there? I'm not sure anything needs to change there.
Change salvation.
Salvation, yeah, that needs to change.
Awakening.
Change you place upon your mind when you perceive. Maybe escape today. Change you place upon your mind, upon your awareness.
Awareness, yeah.
Chains, limitations, maybe.
All right. Okay.
What do you think? Should we change that to limitations?
Quite like the image of chains.
Yeah, because
it follows on from the
talked about each thing you value here as a chain that binds you to the world. So if we change it there, we need to change it here. So we could change that to a limit that binds you to the world.
I like the visual of chain.
Yeah. So we keep the imagery.
Mm.
Get today the change you place upon your mind. Change you. So we change mind to awareness. Change you place upon, that change you.
You're changing it on the original rather than the one below.
Oh, right, sorry, yeah. Well pointed out. Change you place upon your awareness. I'd already changed it. Change you place upon your awareness. Is there a better way of saying that? Change you introduce into your awareness, the chains that bind your awareness. How about that? How does that read?
Escape today the chains that bind your awareness when you perceive awakening here. Mm.
I know what we'll do. Chains that limit your awareness. That's good. Because then we got limitation in there, but we've kept the imagery.
Yeah, that feels better.
Okay. So happy with the first sentence?
Yeah.
What you value, you make part of you as you perceive yourself.
Sounds
You
okay.
see how what you value then becomes part of your self-concept. What you value, you make part of you. You make part of you as you perceive yourself. Is there a better way of saying that? I'm not sure. If what you value, you make part of you as you perceive yourself.
And
I
how you perceive yourself?
What you value, you make part of you as how you perceive yourself. I don't think how it really works. I think let's leave it. It's quite. We put a comma there. So for what you value, you make part of you as you perceive yourself. I think that's pretty neat. So this is why the letting go is so critical, because what you value, you're making a part of yourself. This is now part of your self-concept. And if you're attached to the world, then you're making all of that judgment and that frustration and that resistance a part of you as you perceive yourself by valuing these things in the world. So all things you want to carry on, all things you seek to
make your value greater in your sight, limit you further. Perceive all the things.
Seek to make your value greater in your sight. Yeah, that could change to perception.
Limit you further, hide your worth from you, and add another bar across the door that leads to true awareness of yourself. Yeah, another visual.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bar across the door that leads to true awareness of yourself. Hide your true worth, maybe. Hide your true worth from you and add another bar across the door. It leads to true awareness of yourself. Happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, any thoughts?
Yeah, it just reminds me of being in like a horse in a stable with a half door shut and with a bar across it, and it's like you just can't get to your true self.
Yeah, the imagery is nice. So it kind of brings it to the idea of, I'm restricted and I can't get out. And chains, my mind's in bound up in chains, and it feels very restrictive. So everything we value here, even if it seems to be good, Every attachment we have here binds our mind to this false self-concept. That's what he's saying. The things we value and the self-concept are one and the same thing. We're just not aware of it. The ego doesn't want you to show you that, to let you see that. But with this teaching, you become more and more aware of it. You go, oh, okay, well, that spare room is a projection of your false self-concept, which you're valuing. You're maintaining the self-concept by valuing the situation in the way that you do. So remember, the entire world, the entire universe is a false projection of a false self-concept. The entire thing.
Yeah, I have this habit when I go out for a dog walk. If I go out the house and the path is empty and I see no human beings in either direction, I celebrate the bliss of it. So I say, bliss point, yay. The dog and I are really happy. But of course, that's just an illusion again, and I'm just reinforcing the illusion. So I'll stop doing that.
So whatever it is. Oh, there's people. Oh, they're great. I'm happy. Holy encounters await. It's empty. Oh, I have spacious awareness. I have time on my own. Great. Yeah. So then you accept it all. It's all coming into your experience, and you're not judging. See, so judgment. That's what we need to be wary of. You're judging, and you go, oh, that experience is better than that experience. And that's how we fragment reality, and we keep the separation going. But if it's all underlying all of this, there's one awareness that is unchangeable, then why are you so concerned with what it looks like on the level of form? And keep judging what it looks like on the level of form when actually underlying it is the same awareness. People know people, the same awareness is still there. Your true awareness is still there, it's unaffected. So you got to really watch how the ego tries to get you to judge the seeming reality of this world. Go, oh, that's better than that. That I prefer to that. Because those judgments keep the illusion going in your mind.
That's quite significant, isn't it? That's like keeping the happy dream, isn't it? I'll keep the good bits, I'll let go of the bad bits, but that doesn't work.
No, because you keep the value going of this world in your mind. Oh, that's better than that. It's better when there are no people on the path than when there are people on the path. It's better when there's a clear spare room than a mess in the spare room, you see? And now we set up all these conditions. And obviously all of that mental and emotional activity makes the situation real. And it makes the self-concept of the separate self real, which is all the ego is really using it for. So this is like removing the illusions you've got in your mind. And Jesus is saying, look, let's just see this for what it is. This is just your false self-concept playing itself out and trying to perpetuate itself through this world. But once you're wise to the game, then you can do what's needed, which is simply to let go of all of your mental and emotional attachment to anything. Easier said than done, but at least you know what the game is now. Okay, I get the ego's game. I know what it is. I accept it. Now at least I can play the game correctly. I know how I should be playing this game. Before you have this knowledge, you don't know how you should play the game. You think that getting attached and valuing things in the world is how you should play the game. That's going to make you happy. So at least he's telling us straight, this is the game you should be playing. This is how you should be playing the game. And it's not always easy, but this is what you should be directing your time and energy towards. And that's very helpful, because if you never know, you spend a lifetime playing the game incorrectly and wondering why you're not happy. Going, oh, I'm trying to make this game work and it's just not working and I'm never happy. Well, it's because you're playing it incorrectly. Playing it by a set of rules that make no sense. Okay, happy to move on to number 4.
Yep.
Iona, if you can read that for us kindly.
Let nothing that relates to body thoughts delay your progress to salvation, nor permit temptation to believe the world holds anything you want to hold you back. Nothing is here to cherish. Nothing here is worth one instant of delay and pain. one moment of uncertainty and doubt. The worthless offer nothing. Certainty of worth cannot be found in worthlessness.
Okay, so sometimes I don't know why they split this archaic cannot, so we'll make that cannot. It's an obvious translation. The worthless offer nothing. The worthless offers nothing, maybe. Nothing here is worth one instant of delay, one moment of uncertainty. The worthless offers nothing. Does that sound better than the worthless offer nothing? The worthless things, I suppose, offer nothing. The worthless as a general concept, whatever's worthless offers nothing. I think maybe
it's better as a general concept with an S on the end. Yeah.
I think so, yeah. The worthless offers nothing. Certainty of worth cannot be found in worthlessness.
So
And then nothing is here to cherish. Maybe there is nothing here to cherish.
Nothing here is worth one instant of delay and pain, one moment of uncertainty and doubt.
That's okay, I think.
Okay. And then the first sentence, let nothing that relates to body thoughts.
Yeah. Delay your progress to awakening.
Yeah. Nor permit temptation to believe the world offers anything you want to hold you back. That's a bit clear.
Your progress to maybe delay your awakening.
Yeah.
That's shorter, isn't it?
Let nothing that relates to body thoughts delay your awakening, nor permit temptation. Let nothing permit temptation to believe the world holds anything you want.
Yeah. So how do you want to change that? Thoughts delay awakening.
Nor permit, or allow, or permit temptation. Or rather than nor.
And nothing relates to body thoughts delay your awakening.
Nor permit temptation to believe.
I think it needs to be a nor because the sense of it is let nothing, then nor permit.
Okay.
Or let's see, or permit. Nothing relates to body thoughts delay your awakening, or permit temptation to believe the world holds anything you want to hold you back. Oh, that needs a nor, I think. Nor be tempted. How about that? Just permit temptation. Just be tempted, nor be tempted. Nor be tempted to believe the world holds anything you want. Temptation, nor be tempted to believe the world holds anything you want. To hold you back? You want to keep that or just tempted to believe the world holds anything you want and allow the to hold you back. Allow the ego to
And allow the belief in separation to prevent your
to prevent your awakening, to hold you back. That's what he means. What do you think?
I think that's better. I had a problem with the to hold you back stuck on the end of the sentence.
Yeah, it didn't really work, did it? Allow the belief in separation to prevent your awakening.
So I'll read that then.
Yeah, read the whole thing, I think.
Let nothing that relates to body thoughts delay your awakening, nor be tempted to believe the world holds anything you want, and allow the belief in separation to prevent your awakening. There is nothing here to cherish. Nothing here is worth one instant of delay and pain, one moment of uncertainty and doubt. The worthless offers nothing. Certainty of worth cannot be found in worthlessness.
Yeah. Do we want to change that certainty of worth? It's okay as it is, but
It's okay.
yeah, happy with that?
It's all right. So it's saying don't delay. Let it go.
Yeah. Nothing is worth one instant of delay and pain, one moment of uncertainty and doubt. So he's saying, rather than holding on and tormenting ourselves, because we do that for sometimes days, hours, days, weeks, months, years, sometimes. It's just not worth it. Just let it go. No. Why would you want to suffer? Why delay the release that you can have when you let go? It's just not worth it. The worthless offers nothing. Nothing here to cherish. Nothing here is worth one instant of delay and pain, one moment of uncertainty and doubt. Okay? Do you want to give a little summary of that?
It's an urgency in this paragraph. It's saying, don't give yourself any more days, moments, months of uncertainty and doubt. Let it go now.
Yeah.
There's nothing here to hold on to.
Yeah.
And it's
Jesus,
like, take the lead.
he's kind of pleading with us. He's saying, look, I'm just telling you, just stop it already. You're hurting yourself over and over and over again by your attachment, by the value you place on this world. I'm telling you, just let it go. Stop the self-flagellation.
Standing on the edge of a cliff, and he's saying, look, you grow your wings, take the leap of faith, trust, go for it.
Yeah, let go of the old world and come with me on this adventure, because what you think is valuable here is not valuable at all. It's just a chain that binds your mind, and you're actually in prison. So he's just trying to encourage us to like, yeah, okay, I'm up for this, Yeshua. I'll do this, and being very, very clear in his teaching by saying nothing here, okay, no exceptions, nothing here is worth it. Nothing here is worth one instant of delay and pain, one moment of uncertainty and doubt. So when you find yourself in that sort of doubtful and turbulated ego state, you remind, no, it's not worth it. Nothing here is worth it. It's just a projection of a false self-concept. This isn't worth suffering for. One moment longer. Let me just let it go now. Okay, happy with that. Moving on to number 5 then. Sally?
Sorry, I keep putting myself on mute and forget I'm on mute. Today we practice letting go of all thought of values we have given to the world. We leave it free of purposes we gave its aspects and its phrases and its dreams. We hold it purposeless in our minds and loosen it from all we wish it were. Thus do we lift the chains that bar the door to the freedom from the world and go beyond all little values and diminished goals. Okay.
All right, need any translation? All thought of values we've given to the world. That needs to change. We practice letting go. Of all thought of values, all values we've given to the world, all values. All values we've given to the world.
Value without the S?
Maybe, yeah. What do you think?
I'd say value.
Yeah, all values. Sounded kind of a bit confusing. Because values implies some kind of values, like we have, values like love, peace, joy, or those kinds of things. So we practice letting go of all thought of value, of all value. I think we just take that thought of value, all value. I think that's neater, don't you think?
Yeah, less words is better.
Yeah, okay. Practice letting go of all value we've given to the world.
We leave it free of purposes, we gave its aspects and its phrases and its dreams. That's all right, isn't it?
Free of purposes. We let go of all the purposes. We gave its aspects and its phases and its dreams. Yeah, happy with that?
Yeah. We hold it purposeless within our awareness. Loosen it from all we wish it were. Bit old-fashioned way of saying it.
Loosen it, yeah. And let go.
Of all we wish it were, yeah.
Much more direct, isn't it?
Much better. Thus do we lift the chains.
Yeah, well, that's the imagery we used. So he's continuing the chains that bar the door.
Yeah.
So it's like the door and chains before. So we'll keep that if we're keeping it.
Yeah, it's just,
Chains that bar the door to freedom.
I was wondering about thus.
Oh. So, how about so? So do we lift?
We lift the chains that bar the door to freedom from the world and go beyond all little values and diminished goals. Yeah.
Okay, happy with that?
Yeah.
Read it. You want to read it from the top? Just make sure it all makes sense.
Today we practice letting go of all the value we have given to the world. We let go of all the purposes we gave its aspects and its phases and its dreams. We hold it purposeless within our awareness and let go of all we wish it were. So do we lift the chains that bar the door to freedom from the world and go beyond all little values and diminished goals. Yeah.
So that we hold it purposeless within our awareness, we remain aware that
yeah, even better, yeah.
well, it's direct, isn't it? It becomes like, I mean, we know in language, it's better to use active than passive tenses, passive tense. So active is we remain aware that it is purposeless, rather than a more passive version of it. So yes, I remain aware today that the world is purposeless. Of all the purposes we give its aspects, that it is purposeless. We remain aware that the world is purposeless. The world is purposeless. The world is meaningless. The world is purpose. Or maybe we should keep the purpose. The world is purposeless. And let go of all we wish it were. So all we wish it were. I mean, that's very direct, speaking to say your situation with the spare room. I let go. I wish it were different. I wish it, I had a clean spare room. Okay, we'll let go of all we wish it were in that instance. And so do we lift the chains that bar the door to freedom from the world and go beyond all little values and diminished goals. Okay, happy with that?
Yeah.
Moving on to number 6. Iona, do you want to read for us? Kindly.
He wants you psychically to read it while he's moving the page up and down.
Just waiting for you to come into full attention.
Well, I actually am. I'm fine. Pause and be still a little while and see how far you rise above the world. And when you release your mind from chains and let it seek the level where it finds itself at home, it will be grateful to be free a while. It knows where it belongs, but free its wings and it will fly in sureness and in joy to join its holy purpose. Let it rest in its creator, there to be restored to sanity, to freedom, and to love. I like the immediate visuals for me there. And it's like Jesus saying, rise above the battleground. So find stillness and see how far you rise above the world when you release your mind from chains and let it seek the level where it finds itself at home.
Release your mind.
Release your awareness from chains and let it seek the level where it finds itself at home. It's almost like a kind of self-balancing idea for me. It will be grateful to be free a while, for it knows where it belongs. Yeah, it's like it finds its natural readjustment when we release our awareness from chains.
Yeah. Self-balancing, you mean it's sort of your mind's going to another level, your mind's going to another state of mind.
It's like it's going back to what it always knew it should be.
Yeah, correction, man.
Yeah.
Self-correction.
Yeah. It will be grateful to be free a while. It knows where it belongs. But free its wings and it will fly in sureness and in joy to join its holy purpose. So we're going with the rising in the first two sentences and the freedom, but then it's onto the visual of the birds.
Yeah.
But free your awareness, and it will.
Yeah. Do you want to change that imagery?
I think I enjoy it. It suits my mind, but is it? What do you think, Sally? Is it clear for? Do you think it's clear enough?
Yeah, I like the visual of it. I'm not particularly visual, but I get the whole wings and flying thing. Really.
Good.
Like wings, chained up, barred doors, and then you fly away. Bird being a symbol of freedom in this world. Will fly in sureness and in joy to join its holy purpose. Because if you start changing that, then the rest of it will fly. It has to change, doesn't it? It will surely fly.
And will surely fly. In joy.
It will surely and joyfully fly. How about that?
To join its holy purpose. Surely and joyfully fly to join its holy purpose.
Yeah, it's a bit neater.
Nice. Let it rest in its beingness.
Yeah, creator, we normally say source, but beingness is okay if you want. Source, beingness.
Is that right? Creator, source. Yeah.
Creator, father, source. Yeah, that's how we normally translate it. But it's the same. Beingness. Let it rest in its beingness, there to be restored to sanity, to freedom, and to love. That's okay. It works. It's a translation. If you want. I suppose we should be consistent in some way, because we're generally with creator, we use source. So.
Okay. Well, let's not muddle things. Make it source.
Creation, we sometimes translate as beingness when it's appropriate.
Oh, that's
it. Rest in its source, there to be restored to sanity, to freedom, and to love. Nice. Okay, you want to read from the top?
Pause and be still a little while and see how far you rise above the world when you release your awareness from chains and let it seek the level where it finds itself at home. It will be grateful to be free a while. It knows where it belongs, but free its wings and it will surely and joyfully fly to join its holy purpose. Let it rest in its source, there to be restored to sanity, to freedom, and to love. I just wonder if we could do that, the but, at the beginning of 4.
Yeah. Knows where it belongs. Oh. Free its wings, and it will surely and joyfully fly to join its holy purpose. Yeah. You don't really need the but, do you?
No.
Free its wings, and will surely and joyfully fly to join its holy purpose. Let it rest in its source. I think that needs a comma. Let to be restored to sanity, to freedom, and to love. So yeah, I think there's an art to this. We don't want to totally hack the imagery to pieces.
No.
It's quite it's what translation is going to make it clearer. But of course, the course without this imagery, I think, would be the poorer. So it's sort of to keep it when it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay. So any thoughts on that? A little summary of that.
Allow in peace, rise above this world of false images, and let the mind find itself at its natural home. It recognizes where it belongs. It will be free to join its holy purpose, resting there and soaring.
Release your awareness from chains. So if we want to just expand on the chains a bit, to release your awareness from the chains of false beliefs or false values. Do you think that improves it?
I think that spells it out.
It does spell it out, yeah. Is it clear enough earlier what the chains are? Chains that limit your awareness. When you perceive awakening here. Chains, where does he use chains for it? Each thing you value here is a chain. Okay. So he basically defines it here. Each thing you value here is a chain. So he's defined the chains, and then he just uses that definition for the rest. Just assumes that you remember it. So do you think we need to remind people, or is it okay as it is?
No, I think that's good. A good reminder.
Okay. So should we keep it as that? This is what I've just done. Let's see. The chains of false values. They seek the level. So it's not the things themselves, it's the value we place on them. That's the chain, it's the bondage. It's where a lot of people get it wrong. They go, oh, well, I have to let it all go. It means I have to relinquish all my money, my possessions, No, it means you just let go of the value that you placed on them. So you can still have these things, but if you don't really value them, then there's no problem. You might say, well, that's a bit tricky. How do you have them and not value them? But that's what we're being asked to do. So yes, you have money, you have various material possessions, because it's kind of functional to do that. If you have nothing and you live on the street, it's difficult to do this kind of work, but you don't value them. It's like, well, they're just there. They're useful to serve the purpose of my awakening. That sofa serves the purpose of your awakening because you sit on it to do the sessions. You see, you need a house to kind of have some comfort so that you can do this practice. You're exposed to the elements, it would negatively affect your spiritual practice. So that's the value of everything. You start to see that, then you're unbinding your mind from these chains of false values. Oh, well, I value the sofa because of its appearance. Oh, it's a really cool sofa. It's a designer sofa. No, that's a false purpose, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or it's a really old sofa, or it's a sofa that, you know, came from someone who's very spiritual or whatever, then it's a false purpose.
It's just very practical.
Yeah, exactly. It's useful to have these things because they serve the purpose of awakening, but you don't attach anything else to them. So a car is useful because it gets you from A to B on your journey. A car is not useful because, oh, my car is so cool and it gives me some kind of enhanced status in my eyes and other people's eyes. That's now a false value you've applied to it. So yeah, practical, functional, rather than attaching an identity to something, giving it meaning that it doesn't have. And the way to check that is, well, is this useful for awakening or not?
Yeah. Right.
Does it serve my awakening, or actually is it just another chain that's preventing me from letting go of everything in this world? Okay, so number 7 is going to some practice, but let's translate and then we'll do a meditation. So Sally, if you can read number 7 for us and translate as we go.
Give it 10 minutes rest 3 times today. When your eyes are opened afterwards, you will not value anything you see as much as when you looked at it before. Your whole perspective on the world will shift by just a little every time you let your mind escape its chains. The world is not where it belongs, and you belong where it would be and where it goes to rest when you release it from the world. Your guide is sure. Open your mind to him and be still and rest.
Okay, so let's go through and translate. Any translation needs to happen. Eyes are opened afterwards. When you open your eyes. How about that? It becomes passive rather than active. When you open your eyes, there's kind of a double meaning in that, isn't there? You open your eyes on the meditation, and you open your eyes spiritually as well. We'll keep open your eyes. So there's a double meaning in that. Not value anything you see as much as when you looked at it before. So he's implying here, although he doesn't tell you to close your eyes, he's implying that in this 10 minutes you're going to close your eyes. Your whole perspective on the world will shift by just a little every time you let your mind escape its chains.
Your awareness.
All is not where it belongs. So your awareness does not belong in the world. Mind does not belong in the world. You belong where it would be, where it wants to be, should we say? So your awareness wants to go home. It wants to rest in pure formless awareness. So that's where you belong. You belong where it wants to be and where it goes to rest, where when you release it from the world. You release it from the world when you, how about more direct there, when you let go of.
Yeah.
When you let go of valuing the world. Because when you value the world, you're bringing your awareness into the world, aren't you? You're taking your awareness and you're now thinking and feeling emotions about this world, and that's what binds your mind to the world. Your guide is sure, open your mind to Open your mind to it. Be
Your,
still and rest.
open your awareness to it.
Be still and rest. Okay, you want to read it from the top?
Give it 10 minutes rest 3 times today, and when you open your eyes afterwards, you will not value anything you see as much as when you looked at it before. Your whole perspective on the world will shift by just a little every time you let your awareness escape its chains. The world is not where it belongs, and you belong where it wants to be and where it goes to rest when you let go of valuing the world. Your guide is sure. Open your awareness to it. Be still and rest.
Okay, I think that reads quite well.
Yeah.
So any thoughts on that?
My thought is it needed a comma in there somewhere, but
Where?
I don't know. It was a long one. Yeah, number 3, I think. Your whole perspective, comma on the no. Your whole perspective on the world will shift by just a little.
Time you let your awareness escape its change.
Mm.
So only if there's a natural pause. So I've actually been removing some of the commas because sometimes a comma, and I'm like, it doesn't need a comma. Like the sentence can just flow.
Sometimes you need a breath, don't you? To me, the comma is the breath.
Whole perspective on the world will shift by just a little every time you let your awareness escape its chains.
You can do it in one breath.
Leave the comma. So he's put a comma in there. World will shift by just a little, and then pause every time you let your mind. But it doesn't really need it. What do you think, Aya? Does it need a break there? To me, it just kind of interrupts the flow of the sentence.
I don't think it needs a comma actually, but I do appreciate them as well. It reminds me to take a breath.
It's just a little every time, a little every time. Yeah. Would you naturally pause a little every time? So it makes you pause there. The comma, okay, pause, and then every time you.
I don't think I needed a comma there.
I don't think so. Any was that it, Sally?
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, that's cool.
Right, sure. Okay, so any thoughts on that? It's a very straightforward message, isn't it? I mean, it's not rocket science what he's saying. It's just to do it, to actually do what he's saying is the difficulty. Let go of every value that you have in this world. It's kind of a big ask, it seems.
Yeah, it's nice to think about the awareness shifting each time that you do it.
Yeah, so it's moment by moment. You're not going to do this overnight. So it's just suddenly, I just let go of every single value I have. It's a systematic, progressive process. As you go your journey in your life, these things come up. When something comes up and there's obviously an attachment there, then that's the perfect opportunity to let go of another chain that binds your mind. So refer back to your spare room example. That's an example of a chain. This is what you do. You're valuing something in the world. You're saying it should be this way. And now because it's not that way, because I'm valuing it, I now feel violated and I feel attacked. Well, that's a chain that's binding your mind and preventing you from going into pure formless awareness of perfect life. So, and it's symptomatic because if it's not the spare room, it might be something else.
Yeah, sure. No,
Not about the spare room. It's the spare room. It's the symbol of how your mind is operating in the world. So now you have the opportunity to correct that, and this situation is giving that to you, and that's really all we're doing in life. It's like moment by moment we have these experiences. They bring up our attachments. We see them, and then we let them go by applying these teachings, and then you're allowing yourself to be happy and peaceful while you're here learning your lessons. It's a happy dream, and if you keep doing that, by the end of your life, you've corrected your mind. There's no more belief in the false values and beliefs of the ego. Okay, so happy with that. moving on to the last one. Let's translate that, and then we can do a meditation if you're open to that.
Yeah.
Okay, Iona, you want to read the last one?
Yep. Protect your mind throughout the day as well. Does he mean as well as the night? And when
Yeah, well, he's referring to the 10 minutes rest 3 times today.
oh, I
And then
see.
throughout the day.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
that's why there's the as well.
Yeah. Protect your mind throughout the day as well. Brackets as the 10 minutes that you're doing. Protect your awareness throughout the day as well.
Yeah. We want to protect. I think it's a vigilance. It's a call to vigilance, isn't it? So
I much prefer.
Vigilant. Be vigilant.
I suppose you could interpret it that it is under attack from the ego that would have you invest in everything that's apparently real, but be vigilant for your mind throughout the day.
Vigilant. Do we need awareness in there, or maybe just be vigilant throughout the day as well?
I think we need awareness.
Be aware and vigilant throughout the day as well. How about that?
And when you think you can see some value in an aspect or an image of the world, refuse to lay this chain upon your mind. But tell yourself with quiet certainty, this will not tempt me to delay myself. The world I see holds nothing that I want. I think it would be better, instead of laying a chain upon my mind, I'd refuse to chain my mind even.
Yeah, to lay a chain. Refuse to.
Yep.
Chain your awareness.
Yeah.
To false
beliefs.
False values, maybe. We're talking about values, to false values. Refuse to chain your awareness to false values, but tell yourself with quiet certainty.
This will not, yes, okay. But this will not tempt me to delay myself. The world I see holds nothing that I want.
See some value. Refuse to chain your awareness to these false values. So if you think you see a value, refuse to chain your awareness to these false values. Refuse to chain your. Do you want to chain your awareness? I suppose he's using the chain metaphor. Chain your awareness to these false values. Yes, it keeps the imagery going, doesn't it? Tell yourself with quiet certainty. This will not tempt me to delay myself. The world I see holds nothing that I want. Okay, read it from the top. Let's see how it reads.
Be aware and vigilant throughout the day as well. And when you think you see some value in an aspect or an image of the world, refuse to chain your awareness to these false values, but tell yourself with quiet certainty, this will not tempt me to delay myself. The world I see holds nothing that I want.
Nice. Got a little goosebump there. It's like, oh, or maybe it's just getting colder. I don't know.
Good spirit.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so happy with that. Any thoughts on that last paragraph?
It's a clear instruction. Maintain your vigilance. Refuse to capitulate.
Yeah, what he's asking us to do really is that in every instance, whenever the ego comes up, then change your mind. That's why we have this regular practice. That's why the short practice periods are so important. He's saying, yeah, all very well to do the longer meditations. That's great. But don't forget, don't have hours and hours in the day when you just forget about this.
Yeah.
So in every moment, when the ego comes up, that's when you need to be aware of this, use the idea to help you to let it go. And so you're interrupting the pattern of the ego moment by moment, hour by hour. And if you keep doing that, you are profoundly changing your perception. Profoundly. If you keep doing that for years, after a few years of doing that, even after a few months, you're seeing the difference. You really are profoundly changing the way you see the world. Just by applying this, disciplined mind training. So it's a really, really good mind training course. He's got the how you actually train a mind. He's got that down with this workbook really well. We've just got to do it. That's the thing. The ego is going to try and stop you doing it. So it's to remember every hour. What I want to do is, or what the spirit wants to do, shall I say, is through me is to create an app.
Yeah.
That would have all of this. So you have your reminder on the app. There are apps that do that, but the reminder integrates the breath breaks. So you go, reminder, okay, all I've got to do is tap, and it's going to play that appropriate breath break for that particular lesson for that day. Or now it's time for your evening meditation, tap, and then it plays the longer one. So then it's like literally on tap. You've got it on tap. It's like tap and play, and off we go. I think that would be very useful for people. So it beeps them. They set the reminder. Yes, I want to be reminded every hour, or I want to be remembered every 2 hours. They can set that, and then then it's going to pop it up, and all I've got to do is tap the thing in the app, and it's then going to play that particular track. So that will come in time. I'm not sure when, but all in good time. Okay, so where are we at? We've done this. Any comments, questions, thoughts on the image, on the lesson overall?
I think it's straightforward, actually, this one. And I think it reinforces the need for vigilance and to keep on it, and to become ever more like a kind of private detective in your own life, rooting out the ego when it pops up and tells ourselves that this is worth investing in and being bothered with. But actually, this world holds nothing that I want.
So he's asking us for continuous vigilance. Just be aware, be present. This is to pray without ceasing, as Paul said.
Yeah.
Just be continuously vigilant, because awareness is the first step in letting go. If the true prayer is for forgiveness, the awareness must precede that. Oh, okay, there's something arising now that I'm aware of that is not of spirit, that is something I want to let go of. So that the vigilance is the awareness, and then the choice to let it go is the second part of this forgiveness that he's teaching us to do. But it requires awareness to start with. So the awareness and the vigilance are primary. And that's what he's asking us to sharpen. Sharpen your awareness. Get very, okay, so a thought comes in, be aware of every thought. What is that thought? Where's it coming from? What does it feel like? Okay, it doesn't feel good. Okay, I need to let this go now.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of which, shall we do a meditation?
That'd be good.
All right. So just making yourself comfortable. Sitting feet shoulder width apart. Back straight, cup your hands in your lap. Close your eyes. And start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, to the lower stomach, blowing the stomach up like a balloon. Clenching the sphincter muscle to lock the energy in. Draw the energy up the spine to your heart center. Putting one hand on your heart, connecting with your heart space. And draw it up into the crown of your head. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. It's a maximal inhale breath. Another deep full inhale. Just breathing in spacious awareness. So observe your mind. So notice any thoughts, any emotions going on there, any sensations in the body related to this. Breathe into it to create some space. The breath creates spacious awareness in the mind. Now just be aware of anything you need to let go of. So anything you're valuing in this world. That shows up in many ways. It can be a grievance you have over something. Underneath each grievance there's expectation. So you have an expectation that something should look a certain way, something should be a certain way. And then it's not, your expectations violated, then you have the grievance. Which is a resistance to what is. You resist it and it doesn't feel good. You notice that there's resistance in your mind, that you're not happy. So notice that. And just bring in today's idea. So the world I see, the world I perceive holds nothing that I want. This will not tempt me to delay myself. This false value. So I'm wanting to let it go. So breathe in the presence of love, pure formless awareness of perfect love. Take your mind into that awareness. It feels healing. It's empty, open, spacious awareness is the mind's true home. So you go there in your mind. Let it arise in your mind. And you start to understand that this is the truth. And that all of your attachments to the things of this world, the values of this world, simply cover this truth over. They simply obscure it. That's the only purpose they have. So right now you're going to choose to let go of these things that obscure this true awareness, your pure formless awareness. You're going to exhale, letting it all go, noticing how the air flows out of the mouth, the chest and the stomach suck back in. Pull the lower stomach into the spine as you expel the last remaining air out. As you're blowing these attachments away like a dark cloud. It's leaving you to reveal the blue sky of your pure formless awareness that lies beyond it. And you just rest in this awareness. Beyond the values of this world, beyond the battleground, as Yeshua puts it. Above the clouds lies salvation, the awakening to your true nature. So there's nowhere else to go in that nature. There's nothing else to do. There's nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, be still. Observe the breath flowing into the nostrils and out of the nostrils. Touch of the breath. Putting your attention on that. Focusing your mind only on the present moment. Open your mind to this infinite presence of love, spacious, open, empty awareness. It is the essence of love, pure formless awareness of perfect love. So let yourself go into that, just surrender deeply into it. A few minutes of deep silence. There's nothing else to do, there's nowhere else to go, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, observe the breath, relax. Be still and know that you are God. You are this pure formless awareness of perfect love, and nothing in this world can affect that knowledge in any way, shape, or form. So let go and let God is another way of saying this. Just surrender fully, deeply, completely into the presence that lies beyond this world, beyond all the false values and beliefs, the false idols of this world, lies this truth, the great ocean of truth, the ground of being. It has always been there, but it's been obscured in your mind for so many years and lifetimes. Now it's time to uncover it, to reveal it. You do that simply by letting go of the false values that you hold dear in this world. Anything that you value in this world becomes a block to the awareness of this loving presence. So let it all go. If there's anything still lurking in your mind, breathe in and just remind yourself, this will not tempt me to delay myself. Because the world I see holds nothing that I want. And then rest in the peace that this statement brings you for the next couple of minutes of deep silence. So if any thoughts arise to disturb this deep state of pure formless awareness, you just observe them and you remind yourself, this will not tempt me to delay myself. All I see holds nothing that I want. You let it go. Blow it away with the breeze of your breath. Imagine it's like a dark cloud. Leaving you, it cannot obscure the blue sky of your pure formless awareness, or the light of your source that shines through it. So you just sink into those deeply, into the light of your true awareness. For the next minute or so of deep silence. And so just gently bring your awareness back into the body and the breath and the senses and the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. So you breathe in, noticing all these subtle sensations of the breath to bring your mind to back into awareness of this world in a very present way, without judging. You don't name, judge, label the sensations and the sense perceptions, then you're not valuing the world. We value the world when we have expectations about how it should be. So you're going into the pure witness, just the observer, noticing. Breathe in again, notice what's going on in your mind, any thoughts, any emotions, any sensations. In the body. Whenever they are, you can just let them go. You don't have to give them a meaning, a purpose, and dwell on them. You just, as you exhale, blow them away. So breathe your breath into the nothingness that they really are. Lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. Let them go to the nothingness they really are. So notice the energy as you raised up into the crown of your head, just subsiding back down with the breath. Your lower stomach and your groin on the count of 2. Notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair and your feet touching the ground. Notice what you're feeling, your hands touching. Maybe there's a subtle flow of air in your skin. Breathe in. Notice any smell in your nose as you do that. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth. Notice that. Notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment. Just noticing all these things from this very still, calm and surrendered state of mind. Without judgment, interpretation, there's just awareness, pure formless awareness, perfect love without the chains that bind your mind, the chains of the values that you attach to this world. So you set the intention to stay free in this unbound state, pure formless awareness for the rest of the afternoon and evening. So it is said and so it is done. On the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. Just take a moment, look around. And observe the objects, people in the room. In this state of awareness, so without judging, naming, labeling. Just a very peaceful awareness, just peaceful presence arising. So you anchor this state. The more you become aware of it, the more you anchor this state, this enlightened state. Samadhi is called in the Eastern tradition. Just a sameness of perception. You see this awareness, you see from this awareness, you see this awareness everywhere, underlying all things, all form. Pure formless awareness, perfect love underlies all of it. And so you stay rooted in this awareness, and that will keep your mind aware and vigilant. If any false value comes in, just remind yourself that this will not tempt me to delay myself. The world I perceive holds nothing that I want. So that brings us to the end of the meditation, first part of the session. So if you need to leave now, it's a natural leaving point. Sally, if you've got to go, Iona. Otherwise, happy to continue with the text.
I can stay on a bit longer if you're.
Okay, Iona?
I'm going to have a little rest now. That was lovely. Yeah.
Okay.
I know. So Bon chance, I'll listen in later.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Listen to the recording. All right.
Bye. Thank you.
All right. So we're going to do the text. Well, this is nice, Sally.
It's miraculous.
Yeah. Taking a dive into the text. So let's bring the text up then, and get that one going. Okay, so where are we? Text. Okay, so this one is called The Time of Rebirth. Chapter 10, sorry, section 10 of chapter 15, The Time of Rebirth. And it is I think it's 9 paragraphs. Yeah, 9 paragraphs. So it's an intermediate one. Some of the paragraphs are quite long, as you can see. So we'll see how we go. If you need to go at some point.
Yeah, I've got until 4 o'clock.
Until 4. Okay, so it's only 15 minutes.
Oh, what's the time?
It's 3:45.
Oh, is it? No, darn it.
Okay, so we'll just do 1 paragraph, shall we?
Yeah, okay.
I'll give you a little taste for it. So time of rebirth, and copy this. Okay, so there's the if you want to read that, and then we'll do a little translation of it. Number 1.
It is in your power in time to delay the perfect union of the Father and the Son. For in this world, the attraction of guilt does stand between them. Neither time nor season means anything in eternity, but here it is the Holy Spirit's function to use them both, though not as the ego uses them. This is the season when you would celebrate my birth into the world, yet you know not how to do it. Let the Holy Spirit teach you, and let me celebrate your birth through him. The only gift I can accept of you is the gift I gave to you. Release me as I choose your own release. The time of Christ we celebrate together, for it has no meaning if we are apart. Okay.
Yeah. Alternatively, translation.
It is in your power in time to delay the perfect union of source and the extension.
Source and
Its extension, yeah. For this world, the attraction of guilt does stand between them. That's all right. Neither time nor season means anything in eternity, but here it is the Holy Spirit's remembrance of your formless. Which words do you use?
we use remembrance of oneness or remembrance of love, but in this instance, because there's it's a possessive Holy Spirit's function, we'll use love, I think. Remembrance of perfect loves, because remembrance of oneness's function is a bit clumsy, isn't it? So.
Remembrance of perfect love's function to use them both, though not as the ego uses them.
The ego is?
I don't know, I haven't come across that one yet. Strange.
Really?
No,
Really?
limited awareness or illusion.
Ego is the belief in separation.
Oh, belief in separation, obviously so, yes. Now you get it. Not as the belief in separation uses them. This is the season when you celebrate my birth into the world, yet you know not how to do it. Let the Holy Spirit teach you, Holy Spirit is remembrance of oneness.
We take out the wood. This is a season when you celebrate my birth into the world, yet you know not how to do it. Okay, so you do not know. Know how to do it. Yet let the Holy Spirit, let the remembrance of
The remembrance.
perfect love teach you.
Yeah. And let me celebrate your birth through it. The only gift I can accept of you is the gift I gave to you. Release me as I choose your own release. The time of Christ we celebrate. Christ, what do you say? Source?
Christ is the one self.
Okay.
Time of the true self, maybe. Time of the true self.
See, it's funny to say the time of.
Yeah. We celebrate together. Together we celebrate. I think that would work better. That's really what Christmas is about. It's like togetherness, isn't it? Release me as I choose your own release. Together.
Can it not be together we celebrate the true self?
Together we celebrate. Yeah, well, he's referring, the time is because it's Christmas, so it's a season.
Okay.
Together we celebrate the time of the true self. Together we take this time. How about that? Together
That's better.
we use this time to celebrate the true self. I think that's better.
Much better.
For it has no meaning if we are apart. Celebrate the time of Christ. Celebrate the awakening to the true self, we could put in there. To the awakening. Celebrate the awakening of, or is that complicating it? The awakening of our true self. For it has no meaning if we are apart. The awakening to our true self. That's quite nice, I think. Time of Christ. Together we use this time to celebrate the awakening to our true self. For it has no meaning, the awakening to if we are apart. Happy with that?
It says we, as though there was more than one of us here. So for it has no meaning if apart.
If we are apart.
Do we need we are apart?
Well, he's referring to the seeming separation, you know? So there's apparently we,
yeah,
and others. So we use this to remind ourselves that we are really together and we're not apart. So it has no meaning apart. Yeah, it has no meaning if we are apart. No, I think we need the we there. No meaning apart doesn't really make sense. Okay, do you want to read it from the top? See if the whole thing kind of flows.
It is in your power in time to delay the perfect union of the source and its extension. For in this world, the attraction of guilt does stand between them. Neither time nor season means anything in eternity. But here it is the remembrance of perfect love's function to use them both, though not as the belief in separation uses them. This is the season when you celebrate my birth into the world, yet you do not know how to do it. Let the remembrance of perfect love teach you, and let me celebrate your birth through it. The only gift I can accept of you is the gift I gave you. Release me as I choose your own release. Together we use this time to celebrate the awakening to your true self, for it has no meaning if we are apart.
So
Yeah.
how about, instead of awakening, because he's talking about birth, we say we celebrate the rebirth of our true self.
Yeah, that's cool.
Rebirth. It has no meaning if we are apart. It gives a whole different meaning to Christmas, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Yeah.
Like, actually, it should be a celebration of our awakening to who we really are in truth. And Yeshua is just a symbol of that. He was a man who did awaken. But it's become, well, there's so many, misinterpretations of it. What it is, it's become about, on one level, Jesus, and he was the only son, and so we celebrate his birth because he saved us. Quite how that exactly works. One person who was born 2,000 years ago, saving everyone. It becomes ritual. It becomes commercial. There's all the commercial stuff, presents. There's all this stuff we spun around it, and actually, really, it's just a celebration of the awakening to our true self, as symbolized by Yeshua in his life, that we should be celebrating. And so there's a togetherness, there's a oneness that comes, and it's a time of quietness and rest and coming together, as one, and joining in peace and harmony, which does happen. I mean, there is still that element to Christmas, isn't there?
Yeah, but there's lots of other elements, aren't there, that aren't quite so.
Yeah, so you could just purify it, remove all the others, and go, actually, that's really what it's about. It's about the connection. It's about coming into rest, myself, who I really am, connecting with that, and then extending it out and feeling the oneness with my brothers and spending time with them in that, holy instant of oneness. That's the essence of Christmas. The gifts and the all of the other stuff that goes around it aren't really necessary, actually. They're just what the ego's added.
Yeah, interesting. That certainly does give a different perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, very different. Okay, so you want to give a little summary of that? What is he saying in essence in that paragraph?
To be at one, not separated, and to celebrate the connection, the rebirth into the new true self. Well, not new at all. A rebirth.
As he's saying, you don't know how to celebrate Christmas, yet you do not know how to do it, because we're confused about what it means, as we're confused with most things. So let the Holy Spirit, remembrance of oneness, just teach you. Let me celebrate your birth through it. How about your rebirth? Rebirth, your rebirth through it.
That's interesting thought.
Only gift I can accept of you is the gift I gave to you. So he gave us the gift of the example of his rebirth as the Christ. He came to the awareness of his true self. And the only gift I can accept of you, referring again to the gifts, all the other gifts we give, like material gifts, the only gift I can really accept of you is the gift I gave to you of this true self. Awareness, awakening to this true self, which is a Christ. So release me as I choose your own release. So release me. I wonder if we need to add anything. Release me from your misperceptions. Because that's really what he's saying, isn't it? Release me from your misperceptions about Christmas. How about let go of your misperceptions?
Oh, that's even better, yeah. Wow, yeah, that's cool.
Let go of your misperceptions of Christmas. as I choose your own release, as I allow me to allow my message allow my message. How about that?
Your misperceptions of Christmas and allow me.
Sentence?
Yeah.
As opposed to release me as I choose your own release.
Yeah, which is complicated, isn't it?
But obscure. It's like, well, what does he actually mean? I mean, that is, you could argue we changed the meaning of it. But I think there's this is actually true to the meaning of the whole paragraph of what he's saying. You do not know how to celebrate. So let go of your misperceptions of Christmas and allow my message to free you. Release me. Well, what does that actually mean? We release Jesus from your misperceptions. That's what he means. Let go of your misperceptions of me and Christmas, because it's about Christ as well. Misperceptions of me and Christmas, and allow my message to free you. Together, we use this time to celebrate the rebirth of our true self, for it has no meaning if we are apart. Yeah, I think that's better than the original.
Yeah, wow.
That was the clarity, don't you?
Yeah, that really resonates with me.
Oh. So, well, when Christmas comes around, we'll have a look at this again. Remember, section 15. Just a pity the timing wasn't.
Yeah.
It's just not how it works.
A bit.
Yeah, you're going to get to this in the middle of the year because it's in the middle. If it's at the end, then we'd be at Christmas. But anyway, we'll have another look at this maybe around Christmas time.
Oh, I'm glad I stayed on for the extra 15 minutes to be able to just get that paragraph. That's really good.
Yeah. So do you see, like, if you get into the text, there's some real depth. And you get some subtleties and nuances that you don't get in the workbook. This kind of thing, and then in the interpretation of it, I think this is part of the learning, because you go, oh, okay, so what is he actually meaning? And then you reinterpret it, translate it, and some new meaning reveals itself. Actually, what is he saying there? Release me as I choose your own release. What he's saying is let go of your misperceptions of me and Christmas and allow my message to free you. That's what he's saying. It's just pretty obscure language. Most people go, what does he actually mean? Release me as I choose your own release. It's a bit obscure. So
yeah, let go of your misperceptions of me and Christmas. I feel like I want to copy that out and stick it on the wall.
Yeah, well, I'll send it to you if you like. I'll send you the translation now.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Okay, so that brings us to 4 o'clock. Do you need to go?
I very reluctantly am going, but yes. Thank you very much indeed. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, only a pleasure. So there, I've just sent you the instrument for peace earlier, and you've also got the first paragraph of this.
Great.
Translation and the original.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Sally. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Okay. Namaste. All right. So I'm going to just continue with this. Continue with the translation. So when we've started this, all right. So Number 2, the holy instant is truly the time of Christ. For in this liberating instant, no guilt is laid upon the Son of God, and his unlimited power is thus restored to him. So let's translate that. So holy instant is truly the time of the true self. Instead of the Christ, this liberating instant, no guilt is laid upon the extension of perfect love. Instead of the Son of God, and his unlimited power is thus restored to him. What other gift can you offer me when only this I choose to offer you? And to see me is to see me in everyone, and offer everyone the gift you offer me. So Yeshua is offering us the gift of our true self. So to see him truly, so we'll change this to, and to perceive me truly. Instead of to see me, to perceive me truly is to perceive the true self in everyone. So the Christ is the true self that Yeshua symbolized. Perceive me truly is to perceive the true self in everyone and offer everyone the gift you offer me. You perceive him as the Christ, as a representative of the true self, and you offer everyone the gift you offer him by seeing everyone as the same true self. One is incapable of receiving sacrifice as God is, as pure formless awareness of perfect love is. And every sacrifice you ask of yourself, you ask of me. So when you ask sacrifice, you're asking it of Yeshua as well. So learn now that sacrifice of any kind is nothing but a limitation imposed on giving. And by this limitation, you have limited acceptance of the gift I offer you. I don't think anything needs to be translated there. So the holy instant is just the time of the awakening to our true self. In this instant, this moment, no guilt is laid upon the extension of perfect love. There's no guilt, and its unlimited power is restored to our awareness. And what other gift can we truly offer when only this is what Yeshua is trying to offer us? So to perceive him truly is to perceive the true self in everyone and offer everyone the gift of this perception that you see them as they are. So namaste, I see you as I am. I am as incapable of receiving sacrifice as pure formless awareness of perfect love is. At every sacrifice you ask of yourself, you ask of me. So there's no sacrifice, there's no guilt. There's just this recognition of this perfect love that we share, the one self, Christ self. We share perfect love that this represents, and that any sacrifice is just a limitation imposed on giving. By this limitation, you've limited the acceptance of the gift that Yeshua is offering us, the true self, free of guilt and sin. Okay, so number 3. We who are one cannot give separately. When you're willing to accept our relationship as real, guilt will hold no attraction for you. In our union, you will accept all of our brothers, all of our companions. So if you unite with the self, Yeshua is talking about the true self, then you must accept all your companions, every person, as being one with the self as well. The gift of union is the only gift that I was born to give. Give it to me that you may have it. Give it to me. So you see that you are united with Yeshua in this one self. That's what he means by give it to me. Give the gift of union to Yeshua. So instead of give it to me, I'll change that to unite with me, so that you may have it. So as we unite with him in the one self, we accept the gift of this one self as ours. The time of Christ, the time of the true self, is the time appointed for the gift of freedom, offered to everyone. By your acceptance of it, you offer it to everyone. Okay, so I'll read that through. We are one, cannot give separately. When you are willing to accept our relationship as real, guilt will hold no attraction for you. For in our union, you will accept all of our companions. So it's saying, when you unify your mind with Yeshua's, you merge into the one self, and you must accept that everyone is part of that. And this gift of union is the only gift that I was born to give. So that's why he came into the world, is to show us that we are one self. Unite with me so that you may have it. So unite with Yeshua, you say, I am one with him, and this then claims the gift for yourself. The time of the true self is the time appointed for the gift of freedom, offered to everyone. So this gift of freedom, being in our true self, is offered to everyone. That's what Christmas really means. And by your acceptance of it, you offer it to everyone. So when we accept that we are one self, the same as Yeshua was, then we are offering that same gift of our true self to everyone. So we cannot give this separately. As we accept it, we give it to everyone. It's really the simple message of that lesson, of that paragraph. Okay. So it is in your power to make this season holy, for it is in your power to make the time of Christ be now. Let's translate that as we go. It's in your power to make this season holy, for it is in your power to make the time of the true self be now. So you don't have to wait for Christmas. There is no time. That time is now. It's possible to do this all at once, because there is but one shift in perception that is necessary, for you made but one mistake. So we can do it any time. We can do it right now. It's just a shift in perception. So the true miracle is a shift in perception that's necessary. We made only one mistake, which was that we believed in separation. We invented the idea, popped into our minds, we then believed in it. That's the one mistake, so we simply need to correct that mistake. Seems like many, because that mistake has many forms, but it is all the same. For though the ego takes many forms, the belief in separation takes many forms because it's been projected out into a world. It is always the same idea. Idea is separation. What is not love is always fear and nothing else. Okay, so just asking us to see a spade for a spade, see the ego for what it is. It's all the same no matter what form it takes. It's one idea of separation that takes the place of our true self. And we can do this. We can shift from the ego, the belief in separation, in an instant. We can make this change now because just a shift in perception is necessary. We made just one mistake. Okay, so moving swiftly on to the next one, which is quite a monster. So it is not necessary to follow fear through all the circuitous routes that it takes, by which it burrows underground and hides in darkness to emerge in forms quite different from what it is. Yet it is necessary to examine each one as long as you would retain the principle that governs all of them. So as long as you want to retain, I'm just going to translate as I go. As long as you want to retain, so there's a desire to retain the principle that governs all of them, which is separation. When you are willing to regard them not as separate, but as different manifestations of the same idea. So all of these forms that the ego takes are the manifestations of one idea of separation. And this one idea you do not want, they go together. And the idea is simply this: you believe it is possible to be host to the ego or hostage to God. So host to the belief in separation is the ego. So your mind hosts this belief. It's possible to believe in separation, host to the belief in separation. Or hostage to God, hostage to pure formless awareness of perfect love. Let's just type that in. So the ego is telling you, the belief in separation is telling you that this is some kind of hostage arrangement. You're a prisoner of this pure formless awareness of perfect love. We believe this, but in fact, pure formless awareness of perfect love is our true awareness and is completely liberating. We're not hostage or prisoner to anything. The hostage idea is the ego. It's the belief in separation that's keeping our mind imprisoned. So this is the choice you think you have between the belief in separation or God, pure formless awareness of perfect love. The decision you believe that you must make. You see no other alternatives, for you cannot accept the fact that sacrifice gets nothing. You cannot accept the fact that sacrifice gets nothing. I'm going to change that to leads to nothing. Sacrifice is so essential to your thought system that salvation apart from sacrifice means nothing to you. Sacrifice, the idea that we can lose. And this is essential to the ego because the ego believes that it's lost the awareness of oneness. It's lost love, and so sacrifice is central to maintaining its identity. So that's why it's essential to our thought system, the ego's thought system, the belief in separation's thought system, that awakening apart from sacrifice means nothing to us. So we think in order to awaken, we must sacrifice, because that's what we believe is true and real, sacrifice, and that's the foundation of the ego. The idea that you can win, someone else will lose. So the ego's notion of sacrifice is born from the idea that it won its identity. It stole its identity from God, from pure formless awareness. And then got confused, believed in that false identity, and felt guilty for this theft of its identity. So now it's a win-lose game. I've won my identity, but at the expense of God. So I exist because God doesn't exist. And now I feel guilty for seemingly destroying God, for destroying love. So then you get guilt arising from the notion of sacrifice. So this is why sacrifice is so essential to the ego's thought system. And then we believe that awakening apart from sacrifice means nothing to us. So we think that somehow we're going to awaken through sacrifice, through a thought system of scarcity based on sacrifice. And our confusion, your confusion of sacrifice and love is so profound that you cannot conceive of love without sacrifice. So we think that to love is to sacrifice. Or well, if I truly love, if I truly unconditionally love, this is going to be some kind of sacrifice. I'm going to lose some stuff of value, and I can't conceive of an eternal, infinite love that is always giving, and in which there is no loss. And so it is this you must look upon. Sacrifice is attack, not love. If you would accept but this one idea, your fear of love would vanish. So sacrifice is an attack on pure formless awareness, because a sacrifice needs to believe in another identity, a split mind. Sacrifice is an attack on love. And if we would just accept this one idea, if you would accept just this one idea, then your fear of love would vanish. Sacrifice is attack and not love. So if we accepted this, our fear of love would vanish, and we would simply be back in love or pure formless awareness. Guilt cannot last when the idea of sacrifice has been removed. Why? Because the idea of sacrifice is reliant on a false identity. So I got my identity, I stole my identity as a separate self from God, and so that requires the sacrifice of love to maintain my identity. And then I feel guilty for that, because I've seemingly destroyed God in order to have an identity. I now feel the guilt. So if I remove the idea of sacrifice, okay, well, there was never any separation. There was never any sacrifice. I didn't steal my identity and deny God, because that's impossible. It never happened. So there's only love, there's only pure formless awareness. The idea of sacrifice disappears, and then guilt cannot last, because you cannot feel guilty for a crime you didn't commit. If you never did separate, then how can you feel guilty for what never happened? So hence guilt cannot last when the idea of sacrifice has been removed. Let me just demonstrate this in diagrammatic format, I think. Might be helpful. So if you look at this diagram, sent into a whole diagram, we see that sacrifice, the idea of separation, means we had to sacrifice God or love. We have to say this isn't true, and that leads to the guilt, because we think we've destroyed love in order to create a false identity. We have guilt. But if the thought of separation never happened, you never sacrifice love. Love is still there. The ego is nowhere. Love is still there. There was no sacrifice, so there can be no guilt. So I hope that explains that one. So guilt cannot last when the idea of sacrifice has been removed. For if there is sacrifice, someone must pay and someone must get. The only question that remains is how much is the price, and for getting what? Okay, so sacrifice leads to this terrible world of the ego where there is a win-lose situation. I win, I get, you lose. And we've set up our world like that. Someone must get, someone must lose. It's a world of winners and losers. And the only question that remains is how much is the price? So how much do I get? And how much does someone else lose? That's what he means by the price. And for getting what? Okay, so what are we going to get? And the ego values all kinds of false idols. It says, well, you want to get money, power, fame at the expense of your brothers. And that is what it sets its mind on. And the more we value these things, the more we actually believe in false idols, and we separate ourselves from our true, pure, formless awareness. Okay, so it's quite a long paragraph. I hope you've covered that. So just a summary: it's necessary to examine each. It's not necessary well, it is necessary to examine each one as long as you want to retain the principle that governs all of them. So if we can just see that there's one idea behind all of it, so one idea of separation behind all of the forms, and that this is the governing principle, then we start to see that in all the seeming forms that seem to be different, there's really one idea behind them, and that's a false idea of separation. And so we believe it's possible to be host to the belief in separation. We believe that separation can actually be there, it can dictate our thoughts, and that seems to contradict God, love, pure formless awareness of perfect love. So we think we have a choice, and the decision you believe you must make. You see no alternative. You cannot accept the fact that sacrifice leads to nothing. So we've set it up where we think in order to have our true identity, which we believe is the ego, we must sacrifice oneness. And so the idea of sacrifice is inherent, is foundational, fundamental to the ego's belief in itself. Without the idea that you've given up oneness, the ego can have no separate self, no sense of a separate self. So I think we have a choice between the ego and our true self. Sacrifice becomes essential to our thought system then, and that awakening apart from sacrifice means nothing to us. So we confuse sacrifice and awakening. We think, well, if I cling to my separate self and I maintain this belief and I keep sacrificing love, then I will be safe. But it's actually sacrifice is attack upon love. Sacrifice implies a separation, a split in the mind, so you're attacking your true self. That's why sacrifice is attack and not love. You accept just this one idea. So if you would only accept just this one idea, your fear of love would vanish. So sacrifice is attack, sacrifice is nothing. Your fear of love would simply vanish because you'd accept that you are still one with it. Sacrifice is not real. Guilt cannot last when the idea of sacrifice has been removed, because there's nothing to feel guilty for anymore. There is no separation. If there is sacrifice, someone must pay and someone must get. So I'm sacrificing, or someone else is sacrificing, everyone's losing, and someone else is gaining. That's the world of the ego, the win-loss world of the ego that we set up. The only question remains is how much is the price and for getting what? And so this plays out in many ways in the world. We set the price, we have a value of illusions, and that becomes then the price of the ego. And for getting what? So it plays out in many ways. We value whatever false idols in the world, but it's all false. We don't need to do this. We don't need to value sacrifice. We can simply restore our mind to pure formless awareness of perfect love, recognizing that separation was never real, none of its effects are real either. Okay, so moving swiftly on. So as host to the ego, you believe that you can give all your guilt away whenever you want and thereby purchase peace. The payment does not seem to be yours. So the ego is telling you, maintain this and give your guilt away in the form of blame, which is an attack on others. Give all your guilt away whenever you want and thereby purchase peace. So this will bring you peace because someone else is guilty. I'm not guilty. So I'm off the hook. They're the guilty ones and I feel like I'm at more peace. The payment does not seem to be yours. It seems to be someone else's guilty. While it is obvious that the ego does demand payment, it never seems to be demanding of you. Yeah, so let's just change this to the belief in separation. So opposed to the belief in separation, believe that you can give all your guilt away whenever you want and thereby purchase peace. The payment does not seem to be yours. It seems to be someone else's. This is how the ego uses guilt. And its projection of guilt is blame. So it may be obvious. While it's obvious that the ego does demand payment, it never seems to be demanding it of you. So while the belief in separation demands payment, never seems like someone else is paying, someone else is guilty. You're unwilling to recognize that. The ego, the belief in separation, which you invited, is treacherous only to those who think they are its host. So the belief in separation is actually treacherous to anyone who believes in it. It's treacherous only to those, instead of who think they are its host, to those who believe in it. Change that. If you believe in it, then it seems to be, it is actually the real treachery. Then it seems to have effect on you. Believe in separation will never let you perceive this, since this recognition would make it homeless. It's treacherous. You believe in it, but it's treacherous to you. It's going to betray your mind. So this recognition will make it homeless if you really saw what it's up to. And it's actually treacherous. It's not your friend. It's your enemy, and you don't want it in your mind. When the recognition dawns clearly, you will not be deceived by any form the ego or the belief in separation takes to protect itself from your sight, from your true perception. So the ego likes to hide in darkness. Each form will be recognized as but a cover, only a cover, for the one idea that hides behind them all. Love demands sacrifice and is therefore inseparable from attack and fear. Love demands sacrifice, therefore inseparable from attack and fear, and that guilt is the price of love which must be paid by fear. So the one illusion of the ego is love demands sacrifice, because the ego is saying, well, it's me or love, it's me or this love, oneness, so love demands the sacrifice of my separate self. Is therefore inseparable from attack and fear. So the ego perceives this love as some kind of attacking force, that it's attacking its identity and it needs to defend against this. So we have a concept of a fearful, wrathful, vengeful God, which actually has nothing to do with love. That's the ego's misinterpretation. Guilt is the price of love, which must be paid by fear. So guilt is the price of love, and that price must be paid by fear. So what a distortion. The ego is just completely upside down, and it's believing that love is now threatening, love demands sacrifice, and is therefore inseparable from attack and fear. Guilt is the price of love, which must be paid by fear. So guilt, although guilt is actually the price of the ego, it believes that guilt is the price of love. And this must be paid by fear. So guilt demands punishment, so guilt and fear go together. That's what I mean. Price must be paid by fear. And so you fear awakening. You fear this true self. You fear the remembrance of oneness, thinking that it demands sacrifice, and you associate guilt and sin with the idea of sacrifice. And so you falsely think that to go to God, to unite your mind with God, entails guilt and fear. All very confused, doesn't make a lot of sense, but Yeshua's just highlighting the insanity of the ego's thought system, saying don't believe in this thing because it is insane. Okay, so summarize that. So how fearful then has God become to you? How great a sacrifice do you believe his love demands? I'll translate that as we go. So how fearful then has pure formless awareness of perfect love become to you? Sounds insane when you say it is pure formless awareness of perfect love, doesn't it? Because how could you be afraid of that? How great a sacrifice do you believe his love demands? Do you believe its love demands? So you think that pure formless awareness of perfect love demands a sacrifice of your of yourself. And the ego being attached to that self feels like this is a threat, and it's threatening you with death. So total love, in the ego's perception, total love would demand total sacrifice. And so the ego, the belief in separation, seems to demand less of you than God. Seems to demand less of you than pure formless awareness of perfect love, and of the two is judged as the lesser of two evils. One to be feared a little perhaps, but the other to be destroyed. Lesser of two evils. So the ego, maybe we have some awareness that it's to be feared a little, but the other is ultimately threatening. It threatens your special identity and must be destroyed. You see love as destructive. The only question is who is to be destroyed, you or another. So total misinterpretation of love. We see love as destructive to ourselves, our identity, and then we question who is to be destroyed, you or another. And you seek to answer this question in your special relationships, which you seem to be both destroyer and destroyed in part, but able to be neither completely. So quite interesting. So this conception of the ego goes into special relationships, and we then seem to be both destroyer and destroyed. So someone is destroying us, and we're also the destroyer. So we attack our people we're in special relationship with, and then they seem to be attacking us, but able to be neither completely. So we switch roles. It's a characteristic of illusions. They are not true, so the roles are not stable. And this, you think, saves you from God, saves you from your formless awareness of perfect love, whose total love would completely destroy you. Total love would completely destroy you. So this is the ego's misinterpretation. It's terrified of the spirit, terrified of oneness, because it's not going to exist there. So it has a lot of fear towards it, a lot of resistance, and prefers the separation idea, which may have some fear attached to it, but seems to be safer than going into this and letting it all go. Okay, so what this paragraph's really saying is, summary, that we prefer the ego because it seems to be the lesser of two evils, and we see love as totally destructive. And and we project that into our special relationships, in which we seem to be both destroyer and destroyed, but never really doing either completely. And we think that by engaging these kinds of special relationships, that we are saved. Saves you from pure formless awareness, perfect love. Okay, so moving swiftly on to number 8. Think that everyone else outside yourself demands your sacrifice, but you do not see that only you demand sacrifice and only of yourself. Yet the demand of sacrifice is so savage and so fearful that you cannot accept it where it is. The real price of not accepting this has been so great that you have given God away rather than look at it. You think that everyone demands your sacrifice. The demand of sacrifice is so savage and so fearful that you cannot accept it where it is. Okay, so you did this to yourself. The price of not accepting this has been so great that you've given God away rather than look at it. Given pure formless awareness of perfect love away. For if God, pure formless awareness of perfect love, would demand total sacrifice, it seems safer to project Him outward, it outward, and away from you, and not be host to Him. So we feel threatened by love. So what we do is we project it out, and we say God is outside of ourselves. Hence, ego's concept of a fearful, wrathful, separate, vengeful God that is outside of us, not within us. So to Him, to it, to this pure formless awareness of perfect love, describe the ego's treachery, inviting it to take His place. Inviting it to take belief in separation's treachery, inviting it, this belief, to take its place. Protect you from it. So you invite the belief in separation in, so it seems to make you safe, seems to protect you from the ultimate destruction to your thought system that pure formless awareness of perfect love will bring about. To it, to this pure formless of perfect love, we ascribe the belief in separation's treachery. So it's all upside down. We actually associate what are egoic qualities with our concept of God. This is a false God. So this fearful, wrathful, vengeful God is the creation of the ego. It's a miscreation of the mind with all the egoic characteristics, and that has nothing to do with God, which is why the traditional religious God we really don't want that, and that's so clearly false. You do not recognize that it is what you invited in that would destroy you. And so this belief in separation that we invited in to our minds would destroy us. It does demand total sacrifice of you. No partial sacrifice will appease the savage guest, for it is an invader who but seems to offer kindness, but always to make the sacrifice complete. So the ego, the belief in separation, is asking you to sacrifice love. And it's telling you that this is going to make you safe. It's going to protect you. But it's a lie. It's a deception. That's really what this paragraph is saying. So don't buy it. Just accept that only pure formless of awareness of perfect love or God will make you safe. Accept that and that only. And then you are free of all the dysfunctions, the distortions that come when you want to believe in the ego in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so moving swiftly on to number 9. You will not succeed in being partial hostage to the ego, for it keeps no bargains and would leave you nothing. You will not succeed in being partial hostage to the belief in separation. So you cannot believe it entirely. Or not at all. It keeps no bargains and would leave you nothing. It wants to leave you nothing. So it's a lie, it's a cheat. It'll tell you, I'm going to protect you and save you, but it doesn't keep that bargain. It actually takes everything away, leaves you nothing but death and despair. Nor can you be partial host to it. You must choose between total freedom and total bondage, for there are no alternatives but these. Okay, so again, Yeshua is making very clear there's a split in the mind, so there's a clear-cut choice, and it's a total choice. You can't choose to be somewhat free. You're free or you're not. So total freedom and total bondage, for there are no alternatives but these. Tried many compromises in the attempt to avoid recognizing the one decision you must make. So saying there's many compromises, we try and fudge it, we try and go, well, can have a little bit of the ego, the nice things of the world, the nice things that we value that relates to our lesson today. That's a compromise. But actually it needs to be a total commitment. So you've tried many compromises in an attempt to avoid recognizing the one decision you must make, i.e. you must make the choice to let go of the ego and accept the Holy Spirit, remembrance of oneness, perfectly. Okay, so you've tried many compromises, none of them have worked. We attempt to avoid recognizing the one decision you must make. And yet it is the recognition of the decision, just as it is, that makes the decision so easy. Salvation or awakening is simple, okay, because it's a simple decision. You must simply decide for oneness, only oneness is true, and all separation is then false. So awakening is simple, being of God, being of perfect love. And being of perfect love, which is ultimately simple and therefore very easy to understand. Do not try to protect it from you. and see it outside yourself. In you are both the question and the answer, the demand for sacrifice and the peace of God. And that's a quick summary of that. So just saying to end it, the awakening is very simple, comes from perfect love, and we must choose categorically, unequivocally, between these alternatives of total freedom and total bondage. So love or fear, it's one or the other in every situation. Do not try and project the split out from you. Say, oh, well, it's not my fault. Take it back and recognize that you have a choice in every moment. You have a choice between total bondage and total freedom, choice between the Holy Spirit and the ego, between love and fear. So make the right choice in every instance. Don't try and project it away from you, see it outside yourself. That choice is in your mind and nowhere else. And that brings us to the end of that section. So, in summary, I'm going to do a personalized executive summary. Call that section is saying that. Overall, talking about sacrifice, there is no sacrifice. Time of Christ. So I'll bring this, there's quite a lot in it. This section is saying that. Copy that. We must let go of our misperceptions of Christmas. Personalized executive summary that I should. Go of my misperceptions. Misperceptions. About Jesus, Christmas, and allow his message to free me. His message is that there is no need to sacrifice. No need to sacrifice anything. Perpetuates the belief in separation. Guilt. Brings into our minds. Only to accept our true self. As one with Yeshua. One with Yeshua and all our companions. This choice between belief in separation and the true self is the choice between total freedom and total bondage. Choice between my true self. Here's the choice between total freedom and total bondage. When I make the right choice for my true self, I'm reborn. I'm reborn in that self. And meaning of Christmas. True meaning of Christmas has been fulfilled, has been expressed. I quite like fulfilled. Fulfilled in and by my experience. Alright, so let's read that again. Section is saying that I should let go of my misperceptions about Jesus and Christmas and allow his message to free me. This message, there is no need to sacrifice anything which perpetuates my belief in separation, the guilt it entails. I need to accept my true self as being one with Yeshua and all my companions. The choice between the belief in separation and my true self is the choice between total freedom and total bondage. When I make the right choice for my true self, I am reborn in that self, and the true meaning of Christmas has been fulfilled in and by my experience. Okay, so that's the personalized executive summary, which I think we've done now. So leads us to the brings us to the end, I think, of the session. So thanks for staying, watching. If you've been watching on YouTube, I hope that was useful. I will send this out if you're in the community. I'm going to send out this document now. Let's clean it up a bit. Send it to you so you have the translation. Okay, so thank you for listening. Thanks for joining, and namaste. Which means the divine self, the true self in me, the Christ in me, acknowledges and honors that same true self or Christ in you.